Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Welcome into our show tonight. My goodness, we have another fantastic show for you guys. And I'm about plumb tuckered, y'all. I did 6 targets, 6 sessions actually for this show tonight. And so we have, it's actually 3 main targets, and then Barry gave me extra targets to go in and look deeper into all 3 of them. And it's spicy, y'all. It's spicy. That's what I like to call this now. We are talking about the targets do involve alien abductions where there was, I hate to say it, there's like intimacy involved. Oh my God, that's the only way to say it, I guess. With blonde-haired women with big old eyes and tattoos all over their faces and stuff. So this is interesting. There's 3 cases, 3 very well-known cases that we're going to explore tonight. And so, yes, I think we're going to keep it PG-13, y'all. Don't worry. We're going to keep it PG as much as possible tonight. And I just found out the targets. Was that today? I think it was today. I just found out what these were today. So this is all new to me as well, y'all. And but I do have a bunch of data, and we're going to discuss all the data tonight. It's going to be really good, y'all. This is fantastic stuff. So if you guys would like to check out the data for tonight, y'all go over to my Patreon. You can become a member. I have all of the Patreon, or all the data in my Patreon. And that includes all 6 targets and the entire presentation I'm giving tonight with Barry. Barry is the one who tasked me with all these targets. And so that is over on Patreon. Thank you so much to all my members of Patreon. I hope you guys are enjoying the data. And also, I do have a shop over on Etsy called War Woman Goods if you'd like to support the Cryptid Huntress. And you can find all the links to everything over on thecryptidhuntress.com. That is my main website. All my shows are over there, my calendar of events and all that. So thank you guys so much for all your support. It means the world to me. Okay, well, let's get to our show today. Because, you know, we do hear about alien abductions often. And it's not as uncommon as you think to have some, I guess we could say, intimacy kind of stuff involved, even though it's against these men's will. Okay, so that's not good. But among the thousands of reported alien abductions across the world, it is surprising how commonplace, schmegul, as they say on YouTube, incidents on board the ships and among the aliens truly are. It's an occurrence that is rarely talked about, but 3 well-known cases of men being abducted and forced into these encounters with female beings stands out. There are 3 of them. In 1957, Credo Mutwa, out of South Africa, encountered a blonde-haired female with blue eyes who was adorned in tattoos on her forehead, chin, and her chest. And in 1957, also, same year, Brazilian farmer Antonio Cilas Boas, or Vilas-Boas, claimed that he was abducted by extraterrestrials and forced into an encounter with a platinum-haired female. In 1992, Peter Koury experienced the first alien abduction in which an alien specimen was found on a human body as revealed in a DNA test. Yes, he had an encounter with a blonde-haired alien, and she left a blonde hair on his body. Barry Littleton has tasked me with 3 main remote viewing targets, and then 3 to go deeper into those of all 3 of the women who were part of those encounters. You want to call them women, ETs, female ETs. And we had the follow-up sessions, including the unusual tattoos that the female being's body had in the case of Credo Mutwa. And of course, all of that data is in my Patreon. We're going to go over most of it tonight. And it's an interesting one, y'all. So please help me welcome to the show today the gentleman who gave me all these targets, and even thought to give me these targets, which is wild. We're not remote viewing the incident. We're remote viewing the women. Okay, just to make that clear, y'all. But please help me welcome to the show my friend who has his own YouTube channel. It's called Barry Littleton. Please help me welcome Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Boom. Hey, Jessica, what's up? Man, I got to tell you, I'm sorry, I'm running late. This was my brilliant idea, and yet I'm completely unprepared. I didn't get a chance to put my notes together or anything, so I'm just ready to fly blind on this one. I'm sorry. I mean, I know a little bit about it, but I can't be a total expert without my little notes saying this, and that at certain points. But, it's an interesting topic because I had received an email from a really nice person, and they had said they followed me for a while, but they felt like maybe I was being kind of a bit racist, that I wasn't dealing with. So often I focus on the melanin dominant extraterrestrials, which is true because that's not favored in the media at all, and it's not talked about. We hear about the tall whites all the time. Nobody talks about the tall blacks. When it's the tallest people on this planet you see are normally that anyway. It's interesting, but that's neither here nor there. I advised them that I talked about this temporal commission that I've dealt with, and they were Caucasian. There's a couple of Caucasians there, so I didn't know about that. But then I thought it would be fun to do something that was just varied, And when dealing with this particular topic, we've got a little bit of all races. You've got Credo Mutwa involved in that, a Sangoma from Africa. Great information he had given out before, during, and after his collaboration with David, whatever, Ike, Wikipedia, whatever. And it's interesting because, excuse me, when he talked about this, it's in a couple of lectures he talked about it, but it was hard to find any representations of those pictures there you see him holding. And also there's a figurine of this woman also. It was so that's one area. Then you've got Andrew Vilas-Boas, he's Hispanic, so that's another race. And Peter Koury, I'm not sure, but I think he might be Caucasian. I don't know. But it just gives us a little bit of everything. And these women go between all three. So I think it's just a cool chance. Yeah, that's Peter Koury there. I don't know the man's race, but he could be Caucasian. Anyway, I don't know. But it's just cool. But these females. Now, in the case of Khoury there, Peter, he had two women with him, and one was brown-haired, as you described, but the other one he describes as being the blonde. And they're all the one that he described is a little bit taller. The one Credo and Andrew Vilas-Boas describe, which, by the way, their encounters happened in the same year, 1957 or 58, which I think is really interesting. But they described a similar woman in terms of she's shorter, almost sounds like a 16-year-old or something, and smaller in stature. Credo said she was small, but she was very heavy when she mounted him. Very heavy, like as in dense. And they described this woman, I don't know if it's the same one, that's the one from Boas there, that she's very affectionate during the sexual act, and that sometimes she sounded like an animal, kind of grunting and making animal sounds.
Barking.
So, yeah. What'd you say?
I said barking. I think I said barking. I said barking. I know, right?
But it makes it, but all putting all these three together, I thought was very interesting. So the target was not just them, the women, but where they're from, and what is this organization? And in some ways, I wonder how much a can I'm opening here, because this brings all the experts out of the woodwork. All these people in this field that just know about everything. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit leery of that, all right? But it is what it is. And I myself have encountered those temporal agents or whatever they are, but not these tall whites or the other things that these people are talking about. But I thought it would be cool to address that, because this one's got a little bit of everything in it for everyone. And I think that's what takes us into a type 1 civilization. I may be definitely pro-black, so I talk about the melanin dominant beings, but I'm also pro-God, so I'm pro-people. And that goes into everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's important if we're ever going to get to where Gene Roddenberry was trying to show us on 1966, that first bridge. You had a little bit of everybody on there, every nation, every race. If you look at the Star Trek, the original cartoon, they had a bunch of aliens that were actually on the bridge too, but they didn't have the money for that back then. A feline being and another one with an elongated neck. Yeah. Anyway, food for thought.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty fantastic. I was not familiar with, I don't think any of these cases really. I'm familiar with Credo Mutwa, and we do talk about alien abductions often, and I've covered them. I've done plenty of remote viewing targets on them, but not any where there was a woman involved, like a female extraterrestrial that you know did the deed with the man. You know what I mean? And I'm just not familiar with this, so I thought it was really interesting. And plus the fact that one of them, the one that Credo described, had tattoos on her face and her chest, which was interesting.
I've not been able to, of course, I'm not a symbol expert, but I've not been able to place those symbols exactly, especially the one on her forehead, anywhere. I've seen other triangles and other symbols and things like that from people saying, emblems and insignias, but I've never quite seen that one. Excuse me. So I wanted to know even more about that. And I'll throw something else out real quick. There's a fourth target I could have given you with all this, but I didn't. And that's Michael Huggins. Everyone that's familiar with Michael Huggins. He had some wild sexual encounters with some grays. The reason why I did not include that and him as a target is because all the ones he described were these grays that seem to have these black wigs on. So it's not the same thing. I don't think it's quite the same genetics. So I stuck more to the ones that have the women that look quite similar. I wanted to see if there was a connection, if they're all from the same place or the same origin, and to take some of these fantasies we hear from people. I mean, there's a story for everything right now in the paranormal field in these communities. And I get a bit burned out on it because a lot of it is so concocted and so much fantastical BS that I'd get tired of trying to decipher my way out of it. So this gives us a chance to just put some pieces together ourselves, and we can correlate this with other targets we've done. And boom.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I can. You said that you don't have your notes. So guess what? I just realized I have all the notes over here on all these cases. So if you, I can kind of take over if you want me to when it comes to some of these cases. I just have what I copied and pasted just in case. I always like to have backup, Barry, just in case, and to study these cases. I did all this afternoon, y'all. So we're kind of flying by the seat of our britches tonight. Okay. But nonetheless, the data is pretty compelling. It's really good for all three of these.
Before we go through the data, maybe I should throw something in real quick too. Something that interests me, okay, is that all three of these cases describe these women's eyes as being not just blue, but so blue that it's almost more than a human hue of blue. And that's very descriptive from all three of these individuals. And I've heard that always about, especially it's like the tall white just with the blue eyes, right? And each one of them described these women as having blonde hair, but it was almost like steel in that type of a way. And that her breasts were a little too high up and a little misplaced in that way. And I thought that there was another one where I heard Credo. He was maybe describing another one. That's the doll. Yeah, and there's other extraterrestrial dolls from Africa he's got behind him, statues of rather. But that's the woman there. Another one, and and that one you can see when he goes over it, she's actually got pointed ears, and her eyes have a slight slant to them. Okay, so maybe some Vulcan type ears. But I don't know if he's talking about that one or the other being he talked about as having a small tail. I'm not sure if that was her, if that was one of the others that he had encountered. But so that, and the way that she's described, and smaller in stature, like much smaller, that's the same thing that Antonio Cilas Boas had said. Mm-hmm. So so it's stuff like that I find interesting. And the reason why I'm bringing that up, especially concerning the eyes, is because of this. And I'll just flash this up here and I'll share it so you can just share it with everybody, Jessica, real quick. And you and I might have talked about this the other day, so people will be familiar with it, but nonetheless, I think it connects. Okay.
Okay.
There it is. Sorry. There. This one.
Oops.
And This is from that C.J. Weeks that worked in the military. He was like a radar dude. And I talked about that the other day, and you had taken interest in it. You said you were talking about lenses. And, you know, this is one where this thing had popped, this gray is around him, and it pops this lens out, and that's the eye that's behind it. He described it as being extremely blue and about 3 times the size of a human eye. The same thing I've heard with other gray accounts, including that Reddit thing that I went over the other day. But in that, the gentleman or the person, I don't know if it's a male or female, had said that when you pop that lens out, that their eye was actually like a pale gray type itself and a pale color. But this dude, C.J. Weeks, said that he saw this in a blue eye. And that one, you know, we hear so much about cloning right now. How much does this tie in to these tall whites, to these Nordic aliens? You know what I'm saying? The whole clone thing we hear so much about, but so much of that is orchestrated and sensationalism that I just want to get down to a few maybe basic facts. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh yeah, I think that's pretty cool right there. Yeah, the lenses on the eyes, like their eyes being actual lenses, it's making its rounds around the internet. You know, I'm always trying to keep up with all these trends online and stuff, and I saw that was trending on some of the social media platforms I'm on a couple weeks ago.
Right on. You know, one of the targets that you did, which was that alien autopsy, that I think the original one that we saw was real, and then they started putting in the fake stuff to try to discredit it. But you know, a part of that always caught my attention was they popped that thing's lens off. Okay, and they pulled it off and had an eye underneath there, like a pale. It was just quite interesting. But when dealing with that, and that's always been the concept that these are lenses or, you know, or sunglasses type goggles type of thing. So I find that very, very interesting. You know, when we deal with the different types of grays too, we've got that one there. That one was polydactyl. It had 6 fingers. You've got these others that have the 3 fingers, and you've got these different types of grays, ebens and the ones with the noses. That stuff I was going over the other day. And I don't feel that neither them nor these quote unquote tall whites or these Nordics are the prime intelligence either. Neither of them nor these biodroids. Neither of them are the prime intelligence that's sending this stuff out. Again, food for thought. That's all I wanted to say. Is go into the data now because we got a bunch of it.
We do. Well, we have a lot to discuss tonight. So let's go. Let's just do it one at a time. You want to do that? We'll start off with Credo Mutwa and his encounter. The woman with the blonde hair. We've kind of discussed in general, but let me get into the details. In 1957, Credo Mutwa encountered an alien woman who looked amazingly human. Now I'm quoting what he says there. I watched the video of him being interviewed about this, and so I just transcribed it. So I'm going by that. The creature looked like a woman of very short stature. She had golden blonde hair that looked like it was made of fine metal wire. She had tattoos or lines on her forehead, her chin, and her neck. She had a large forehead, short legs, and long arms. She looked like a white woman, and he was hesitant to speak on what happened when he met her. He didn't want to talk about it in that interview at all. He said it was trauma that had never been expunged, is how he put it. He said the Zulus have a word for what she is, and I couldn't spell it out, so I don't know what it is. But they have a word for her race, I guess. And he said they are misshapen in appearance. Sometimes they don't have eyebrows, and their eyes are always a piercing blue, and they never blink. Its armpits and private area has bright red metallic hair.
Isn't that interesting?
It's interesting. Well, he's not the only one that says that. We're going to go over these tonight, y'all. So I think it's the same. I think it's the same race of alien. He said in the days of apartheid, he was afraid of being arrested and harassed by the police over the encounter. So he didn't want to tell anybody about it because it broke laws at the time. And he said that he was actually, at some point, he was taken to see children in jars. He said children swimming in jars like frogs after this event. So apparently he was fathering children. He's the father of alien hybrids, is what he was saying. So
not really. You got that from that? He said
that's what he said.
he said after that, because there were Greys involved in this too, as he calls them, Mandinga. And he said that they took him to that room where those things were. But that was after they led that woman away. So that was almost immediately after. So I don't know. And he said he didn't know why he was being shown that. He didn't know why. And he said it was horrible. He said it was horrible.
Insinuated
that they look like frogs in there. He said they look like frogs in pods, almost the way he described it. But here's what I want to throw in. That's all right. I mean, that's a good additive on there. He said he didn't know why they were showing him that. So who knows? Maybe
I assumed that it was because those were his kids. That was what I concluded from that, but I don't know.
Well, he's talked about how frequently this happens in Africa, especially women being impregnated by these things and missing fetus syndrome. He talked about that it crosses the barrier about racial contact and abduction, which I think is necessary because we don't hear about that enough. And he was describing now something I want to throw on top of that, my good friend Jessica, that makes this very interesting, is that not long after he sees those babies and things, he finds himself returned and walking between villages with no shoes. His shoes are gone, no shirt, and he's like partially naked in the way that a missing 411 body would be found. And he's completely disoriented. So so not just in where he says he is, and he says he sees so many people of different races being in there, being experimented on and tortured by these creatures. Okay. And then after that, and that's, I think about what you had, the data you had in the missing 411 stuff. We nailed that one pretty hard too. You described these places. Some of them were underground, but that place is exactly what a processing type of unit, plant, almost exactly what he's describing. Okay. And then afterwards, he has some more similarities to missing 411. I just want to throw that in there because I think it's kind of important,
Okay. It is important. It is. Okay. Well, do we want to get into the data of this blonde hair, blue-eyed, strange-looking woman thing? E.T., I guess.
Go for it. If you were done reading the other stuff.
Yes, I'm done. That's all we have for Credo tonight for his part. I have a lot more information on the other two guys. Okay, but that's just what I had for him. And so we have two targets for this tonight. And the first target is the actual woman. And Barry, you posted the prompts that you gave me on Facebook today for your reveal. I'm gonna read them. Okay, the steel blonde headed woman. Steel blonde, that means like blue or platinum, like blonde hair. Is that what you meant by that?
No, it was blonde, but he said the texture of it was.
Oh yeah, metal. Okay, metallic. Okay, so the steel blonde headed woman encountered by Credo Mutwa in 1957. That's the first one. Now the second target, we're gonna go over both of these right now, is focused on the unusual tattoo symbol she had on her body. Okay. So and that's interesting because I think I drew one of them actually. That's weird, but I did draw one of them, I think. Okay, but okay. So let's get into this. So this is the first woman. Now this is who I depicted for our show tonight on the thumbnail. Okay, so if you guys, I forgot to re-upload the thumbnail, but this is the pictures of her. That the representation that Credo had shown the public right here. Those are the tattoos on her chin, her forehead, and this is a tattoo on her neck, on her chest.
Yeah, on her neck, yeah.
That's a Merkaba tattoo. It looks like a Merkaba. Okay, and those tattoos on her chin are actually, they look familiar to me, of like people here on. Yeah.
The one on her forehead, the only one I've seen that is somewhat similar, but it's not the same, are actually black extraterrestrials, the tall mantid hybrids, black hybrid mantid beings that are more humanoid, of course, but they have these triangles on their forehead, but it doesn't look like that. Okay, but that's the only time I've seen even something similar as far as body markings on humanoids.
Okay.
So I think it's interesting. deal, I think. So that's why I wanted to know the origin of that, what that is, what that means. And I looked around. I've got a few symbols on like my computer, different pictures and stuff, and I couldn't find one like that. But I'm no expert. Okay, fair enough. I'm definitely no expert at Nordics and the Nordic organizations of ETs. I'm not, but I think it's worth trying to explore.
For sure. Okay. Well, let's just get into some of the sensory data then. And if there's anything that's like super out of place, I probably won't. I don't know. I might skip over a couple of things because we got a lot to go over tonight. Hey, Mark, thank you for being here. We have a lot to go over tonight. So, okay. So some of the sensory data. Let's go over the sensory data first. Okay. So I got for this woman that Credo Mutwa encountered. I wrote beside, waiting, weighted, belongs, quick, malleable, infinite, rearrange, overflow, overfill, anxious, cautionary, and rudimentary. That was my sensory. Okay. And some of the things that I wrote were seaside, lure, which is interesting. Lure. I thought I was picking up on like a fishing vibe or something. So, but I wrote lure. So it could be, like luring someone in. Anxiety. I wrote full and maximum capacity. Something was at maximum capacity. A runner. Okay. A runner. Obligated is another word that came up. Obligated. Human rights came up. Obligated, human rights. A runner. I wrote runner dynamic. Obligated, human rights. Free form, free flow. And I heard somebody say, I'm a Jedi. Okay. And then what I was seeing, that game where like they put, it's almost like a psychic game, but they use it for like a parlor trick kind of, and they put the ping pong balls under the solo cups, and they switch them around. You got to pick where this ping pong ball is. I was seeing that, and that's what I drew. That was like my drawing was like, I was seeing that like someone was practicing their psychic abilities. Basically, that's one of the drills you can do to test your psychic skills and to work them. Okay, so I was actually seeing that for my first 3 stages of data. So what do you think so far, Barry? Is that interesting? I think that's pretty interesting.
Well, interesting thing that kind of sticks out to me, you said seaside.
Uh-huh.
And to be honest, I've wondered, especially concerning the Boas, because like I said, I don't have any notes on it, but is that also connected to the Puerto Rico and the underground bases, the underwater bases, and the USOs? I want to say I've heard Preston Dennett talking about that part, but I'm not sure. He may not be connected to that. But when you say seaside, it makes me think of USO bases and think about the Antonio thing. But we're dealing with the Credo thing, not Antonio. So interesting. You know what I mean?
Well, I also wrote down seashells as well, but I didn't say that. But I wrote down seaside seashells. That was the first thing that I saw. I was on a beach right away, and I was somewhere near a beach or something. I was right there by the ocean. And so, yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. Okay. Well, let's go to stage 4 data. Okay. This is my coordinate remote viewing data. For you guys who are not familiar, this is like the military style remote viewing. And this is what we call coordinate remote viewing. I write everything down on charts. Okay. When I'm getting all the sensory data. And so we've gone through stages 1 through 3, and now we're entering stage 4. Just so if you guys are familiar, or if you want to learn, you can go along with this. You can check out my Patreon. Okay. All right. So some of the analytic overlay that I got going into the stage 4, I had just picked up on some kind of psychic games, and I heard I'm a Jedi. So, when we think about a Jedi, let's just put it in terms of like training and remote viewing, right? It's not just remote viewing. When you're training to be a Jedi, what some people will call a Jedi, you're learning telepathy, you're learning PK abilities, which are like psychokinetic abilities. You're learning a lot of other stuff, how to walk through walls and stare at goats. I'm just kidding. But all that kind of stuff, so that's what I heard. So I'm a Jedi, and that the target is that woman, right? The female.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was her saying that I'm a Jedi. So I picked up on psychic games, and I wrote down psychic practice and remote viewing. So I was remote viewing. Somehow that was weird. But I heard, okay, so some of my sensory data was like hidden, secretive, blacked out. And then I saw a book and it was full of the X-Files. It said case files, and it was a big book, and I actually drew the book. Hold on, I don't know if I can line that up. There's a book. See that little book that I drew? And it says case files on it. And I wrote UFO disclosure, secret programs, X-Files, and redacted information. Okay. And I wrote down, okay, I don't care if people get it. I don't care. I'm just going to tell you what I wrote down. I wrote Freemasons, hidden secrets, classified programs.
Oh, just keep going.
I was seeing something that was blacked out, So I wrote down redacted in that book because I was trying to see in the book, see what this was, but everything was redacted. There's like all this stuff was redacted, but it's a bunch of secret stuff. It's things it's hidden knowledge. Okay. Hidden knowledge, classified programs, and I wrote down the real X-Files. And then I wrote down random. I wrote down random in my sensor data, but in my analytic overlay, I was like, it's not random. Like I'm sensing that it's random, but it's not actually random. And it is targeted at individuals. Targeted individuals, I wrote down. And I actually wrote down a target with the arrow in the bullseye. And some of my sensory data was like nonchalant. And I was picking up on a government paramilitary agency, is what I wrote down. Targeted individuals, and they were being targeted by a government paramilitary agency. That's my second page. What do you think about that?
It's pretty intense. Well, what do you think? I mean, I think it's self-explanatory.
You know what I think?
It's very interesting. I mean, and we have to remember here, we're dealing with contact in Africa, which you don't hear a lot about. You know, at least, I mean, we hear a lot about other things, but not a lot about the African experience of contact. Not that much. You know, so it's very interesting when looking at it that way. And you know, technically, Credo, along with old Ike, they really tie that into the reptilian thing.
Yes.
And Credo says that, you know, and I where this begins and ends, okay? This is what gets interesting. He makes the claim that what these cultures call Anunnaki, which is so popularly called that now in ancient alien theory, the Anunnaki. He's saying it was all reptilians.
Yeah.
And he talks about them and another one that's called, oh gosh, what is they called? Hold on, I can almost tell you what they call these beings. The one-legged hoppers. Do you know what I'm talking about? They're called, no, seriously, they're called,
the Unifoot. I don't know.
No, I had a deal on one of them. I can't remember now, but they're these beings that have 1 foot, one huge foot, and just one, and they're known to hop really quick, and they hop into these holes too. But he described them also wearing these long, that they're extraterrestrials, and they wear these real long garments that kind of hid that 1 foot, and that they were giving knowledge to people. But yeah,
those were on those old world maps, weren't they? With like the dog-headed men or the civilizations of dog-headed people, and then the blimmies and stuff, like on the Pure East map. I think they had like a unifoot person.
Monopod. That's it. Monopod. That's what they're called. Yeah, and he describes them though as being not short but being tall, very tall. And he started saying that when people started going to some of the islands, they started seeing them too, and they started calling them monopods. But Credo and them call them something different. Okay, but he was saying that they were given information too around the same time that these reptilians came also. You know, I mean, it's very, very interesting when you start looking into it. And he talks about the Nomo. Those are the 3 species that he seems to talk most about coming. His others he has statues of, but the ones that, as far as just the first came that gave the interactions, and they started doing like breeding projects and thing. And he said those monopods had the cross on them, the supposed holy cross. Yeah, and that they were doing, and a lot of them had that, and then that's why when some of the conquerors came to some of those islands, they had those crosses on too, and that's why some people like Shaka Zulu were saying don't attack them because they've got those. They're Caucasians with those things on, but those are the ones that came from the stars look like that. You want to talk about a timeline jump? That's a damn good one right there.
Yeah.
For a lot of racial problems, a lot of problems on this planet. I mean, think about it. It's really tough. We talk about people interfering with time stuff. Where did that symbol come from? Why did those cats from space have it? See what I'm saying? That's a setup of some type. And if you start going into the ISIS papers from Dr. Oh gosh. I don't have my copy in here. But anyway, we start going into what she says about the entire thing with the cross and what it symbolizes with Black genetics. It's quite fascinating. It's quite fascinating. We start getting into that stuff. I'm saying we start dealing with psychology, and it's not coming from a racist perspective, but it's coming with where did all this come from? Where did it begin? And who started it?
Yeah. Who sent you? That's what I always like to say. Well, okay, we've got another page of data here. Okay,
yeah,
so
we've got another. Good job on that one. That was killer information.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we've got another page, and so the last thing we wrote down were the Book of X-Files of the redacted information of hidden classified government programs by a government paramilitary agency, and it's not random. The people that are being targeted are not random. They are targeted individuals. This is all in my data on a blind target, y'all. And then on the third page, I wrote cover up and cloaked. Cover up, cloaked, and veiled. Authoritative, and I was picking up on something of authority. I wrote leached. Leech was part of my sensory data. And so then I wrote parasite. And I was picking up on something that, I wrote parasite and then I wrote parasite class. Now, we all know what the parasite class is, right? Those are the deletes, we like to call them. So I wrote authoritative, parasites, and parasite class. And then I was picking up on something that was broadcasting a frequency. And I wrote down, it looks like I wrote an antenna. I said it was an antenna, but it was like it could have been a tower or it could have been a wand. It could have been anything. But I wrote down an antenna, then it was broadcasting out. I literally wrote broadcasting out. So it was sending out a signal, a frequency, and radio waves. And then I wrote down applied remote viewing. That was the last thing I wrote down. I closed the session down. I think that they are, this is going to sound crazy, but I think that they are using mind control on humans. Of course they are. But that was in my data. It's 100% some sort of mind control they're able to use. And that's, they're using it on, and I think that it's maybe ET intelligence mind control with like the remote viewing stuff, like these hybrids are able to do so well. And it may be just natural to them, but I think it's also government paramilitary that are throwing out these signals that are targeting particular individuals. That's all in my data. And so that is what and the target was that blonde-headed woman with the tattoos all over her face and her neck. It's this is Credo Mutwa's encounter with this woman. It was her. That's the target. And so she's part of these programs now. Whether she's a human alien hybrid, I don't know, Barry. What do you think? Do you think she's an alien human hybrid of some sort, or do you think that she's an actual Nordic of some sort?
I mean, it points to hybrid of some type, technically, but I mean that's fascinating. You know, it takes us in the realm of something else too. You know, when you bring up the mind control aspect of this, that doesn't just include like what they call the alien mind scan when you first get in the presence of one of these beings that can scan you, you know what I mean, and like at a very
Mhm.
deep level, and what you're thinking, you know, even way before text. But also wow, that's interesting, man. I mean, it takes us into the realm of wow of not just the target individuals, but also okay. So let's say something. This is something I've heard too. Right?
Okay.
Is that how much of what people are experiencing beyond the torture is part of the mind control, and what these beings are doing is actually gathering not just what you call loose, but also the emotional energy, all of it put together. Okay, the organic, the DOR, all these things, but that they're doing people putting through this virtual reality to elicit these responses, these emotions, and that they're actually not just feeding on that, but using the power of their existence and the power of their craft and all these things. And I've been heard that suggested, you know, when it comes to the hybrid project too, and then making the people hold these babies and saying that you know things, and sometimes horrible things happen to these babies. If you look like Linda Moulton Howe's Glimpse of Reality, the second one, some of those
Mhm.
people that hold those babies get unalived and things like that, and the beings will tell them, oh, it doesn't matter, it wasn't really alive. But you see, when it comes to that type of a hybrid project, and what does that have to do with the probes and these other painful devices? They're getting these emotions from people. And what is the main way to get an emotional response from somebody is put a baby in their arms and say it's theirs. And you feel the connections and all these things, and that brings up a huge amount of connection and a huge amount of emotional deal that they
Oh
might
my
be
gosh, yeah.
ciphering off people. They might be ciphering off people. I'm just saying, I've heard that before, and I don't think that's too unreasonable. We start dealing with, the Credo had said before, he had mentioned seeing like just a ton of people getting experimented on where he was. And one guy he got kind of close to and saw he was in torture, and they looked at each other, and he said he ran into this dude in like Rhodesia or somewhere like that. He ran into this individual, saw him. The guy stopped him and said, hey, I know you from somewhere. I know you from somewhere. And the guy's just, Credo's looking at him, saying, not knowing what to say. And he tells Credo, he said, you Kefir. I said, you Kefir, I saw you in hell. I saw you in hell.
In
Now,
hell. I think this is not be hell
that's why
sometimes.
Mandinga means torture. Mandinga, as he says they call them, are torture of people, those that bring pain. That's kind of what that means. And
Yeah.
it's for everybody. It's not ethnically or racially exclusive. We know that from what he said, what he saw. I mean, we knew that kind of anyway. But it's just good to hear confirmation from somebody of this noteworthy, But anyway, it makes me wonder how much of that. And he says that he believes that the Greys, and he's got a figurine he shows. And if you look him up and look up like Credo Mutwa and Nordic female alien, it won't come up. The pictures you just showed won't come up. You might get the gold one, but that one of the gray will come up. It comes up all the way. He's holding the gray and it got the gray picture. That comes up. It's easy to get that one. And he said he had a figurine too. He said two things, that he thought they were us from the future, and that's why they took a certain pleasure but yet non-emotional deal in torturing people. And the other ones, he said he thought that they were actually the offspring of reptilians, some type of offspring of reptilians that he calls Chitauri.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I remember those.
Chitauri. Anyway, just things that's bringing all this in is quite interesting. And then it goes from there how they actually were seeding and breeding with people, and they made all these aristocrats now, these Fortune 5 families and all that, the royalty and all that. That's why there's blue bloods, that they're these reptilian. Everybody's familiar with that, especially if you read any of David Icke's books. So
Yeah.
but a lot of that's going right along with Credo, and they've got like about that 8-hour thing on YouTube. Anybody can watch this because Credo wrote a book called The Reptilian Agenda, And that's all they're talking about right there. Anyway, and and I'm trying to remember if he said that woman had a tail. He talks about a female extraterrestrial with a tail. It's in there. He's done several. Some of the stuff he did just like disappeared. I can't even find it. He did a lot more than just the stuff with David Icke. He did several interviews, and he's always wearing normally a colorful garment on all of them. And one of them he's wearing like a jean shirt and like a jean outfit. But there's several. And I can find the one with him and David Icke. And maybe that's the one with Icke right there. But anyway, just that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
But it's interesting and trying to find. It took me a minute to get those pictures of those markings. And so I figured, somebody's going to recognize them, but it'd just be cool to see what the information you got. That's why the second target on her was specifically those symbols. What do they mean? What's the origin? Yes.
Okay, well, let's get into that. Okay, so the next target is the second target off of the first woman we just went over, and it was what are the tattoos? Okay, and so I'll show you the picture I drew. I skipped to stage 3 because I drew a symbol right here, and I was like, that's weird. So that was the symbol that I drew. I don't know. Maybe I was seeing something that was maybe on her forehead or something. I don't know. But I was seeing some kind of symbols for sure. And so I wrote, here's some of my sensory data for this. And I wrote continuous, repetitive, declining, traveling, forward, and cornered. I wrote. And I wrote newfound, going down, descent, impossible, forward movement. I kept seeing something that was like a roundabout or like something that had, like, that's what I drew. I thought I was seeing like a roundabout or something, but it was like a symbol kind of thing. And that's what I drew. That was what I was looking at as the symbol. So I wrote roundabout. Something about a collaboration. I'm just going to kind of skip over some of this data because I don't know if it really means anything. Okay. Because I wrote like a applied, implied, collaboration, a New York minute. Okay. And reverberation was in my data. Reverberation. Maybe it's some kind of special symbols that reverberates. Maybe it's got something that like hike up her psychic abilities or something. I don't know. But I was picking up on something toxic. And I wrote toxic cycle, cut it out, cut it off. Something that was growing. I said something that was growing, the growth. I was picking up on just elaborate. I just kept picking up on elaborate and elaborate too. And that was about it. I didn't get a whole lot of data off that. Okay. But I was picking up on symbols, but I didn't really I would say I didn't get a whole lot of good data on that. Other than, it could be like humans. We just get tattoos for no reason. Sometimes some people do. Some people have a lot of thought behind them, but I don't know. I would just say that, I don't know. I didn't think anything super, maybe they're not that important, Barry, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think they got a meaning personally. Why would any type of a clone, whatever it is, be wearing that and have that? It's got to have some sort of meaning. I'm going to be honest with you. I wondered if kind of you were getting blocked on that. I just had kind of wondered, you know what I mean? And it was, I have wondered even at the very beginning if maybe you were getting a few blocks and you kind of got through it. And that's why I wanted to see more about the symbols. I could be wrong, but there are those trying to detour you, remote viewers.
Well, some of us know how to get around it.
Trying to throw some. I don't know. It's just interesting.
Well, when you're dealing with aliens, there's no guarantee you're going to get anything out of any of that. Okay.
Yeah. For what it's worth, though, the other two women in the other two cases, didn't hear anything about any tattoos or any type of symbols on them or anything like that. So it was just something I thought was just a little extra piece of information, worth exploring. And nothing comes of it, nothing does, but still interesting, Yeah. And the fact I've not been able to find that symbol on her forehead anywhere else. And anyone that says that they know what it means, well, please show that symbol like in some sort of document that shows what it means. With some other symbols, I've just never seen one like that. But of course, I'm no expert, so I don't know.
That symbol on her forehead has come up in my data at least 2 or 3 times on other targets. It's come up more than once, and I think it had to do with ETs actually. So I have to go back and look. I'll go through some of my data, but this symbol right here, but it usually it's flipped. The others, the triangle's kind of flipped upside down. But that has definitely come up in my data more than once, more than twice for other stuff.
Triangle like the
triangle in a circle.
The melanin dominant extraterrestrials have one like that.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay. I am not sure. Let's see. I don't know. Do we want to go ahead and go over to the next one? To our, we can go ahead and go to the next one because we do have a lot of data to go over tonight. Okay. So Antonio Cilas Boas. Okay. This is a gentleman, the other gentleman who encountered a blonde-haired, blue-eyed ET woman back in 1957. He was a Brazilian farmer who claimed to have been abducted by extraterrestrials. His claims were among some of the first alien abduction stories to get worldwide attention. He's down in Brazil. And let's see, he described a female extraterrestrial with long platinum white hair and bright red underarm and private hair. Okay. And he said that he did have intimate relations with this being back during his abduction. He said that, let's see, let me go to the next page. I'm trying to say this so we don't, trying to keep it PG today, y'all. But he said that, okay, so she had large blue cat-like eyes, Barry. Cat-like eyes. That came up in my show yesterday, the cat-like eyes. And she was described as a very attractive woman and very similar in height to the other humanoids that he had encountered. He encountered a bunch of humanoids, y'all. And
some of them had on these suits. You had that one picture I put up. Some of them had these suits on. Yeah.
Well, let's see. So this is a picture of him right here. This is the gentleman. And here's, I don't know, those are symbols that he saw or what that is. But here's a little rendition of what happened. I guess he got accosted by a UFO or something. And we'll get into that a little bit. But this is who took him. He said in the flat fields outside of São Francisco de Sales, in Minas Gerais in Brazil, a 23-year-old farmer named Antonio Cilas Boas chose the night to work. The heat of the day was so bad it would ruin their machines and stuff, and so he decided to do to work at night. And across several evenings in mid-October of 1957, a hard red point hung over the fields, teasing distance, sliding away as he approached and returned as soon as he retreated. On another night, the same intruder grew bright and lower like an ember that refused to die until it behaved like a thing with intention. And it landed and he had a close encounter, I guess. And let's see. I guess he and his brother were plowing. I think his brother saw this happen as well. But he said that the third observation that he had, when Antonio was alone and the red star resolved into a luminous egg-shaped craft that came within 15 meters and it descended. The last of those nights, around the 15th of October of 1957, this is the event where he became well known. It says a minority of early documents use a December date. And so the date, so that was kind of making skeptics wonder about this because like it was either October or December. And so let's see what happened on this one. So he saw something in the sky. He kept working. Around midnight, the star grew into a craft with a dome top and a bright frontal light. He turned the tractor on. The engine was grumbling. When the machine coughed and it died, he stepped down and ran, and the thing chased him, the thing in the sky. There were small men in tight silvery uniforms that caught his skin like fish scales when he fought. So he was actually fighting these things, and hands were getting stopped by the fish scales, he said. Their helmets were opaque, save for a narrow slit at the eye level. They wore white shoes and left unusual heel-less prints in the soft earth. They said nothing he could understand, communicating in short, strident bursts that sounded more like barks than words. Overpowered, he was carried up a ladder into the craft, which stood on 3 splayed legs, a rotating cupola above, and a strange protruding plank on its side. The details, the ladder, the tripod, the landing gear, the revolving dome, and the heel-less prints appear in the earliest published deposition and its accompanied drawings. Inside, the captor stripped him without tearing a seam and hurriedly swabbed his body with a sponge soaked in cool, pungent liquid. A flexible tube drew blood from 2 points near the prominence of his chin, an action that left small marks that he later remained visible, said that they remained visible for years. The treatment was efficient and wordless, organized around rooms whose walls bore functional apertures, tables with 3 legs, and a sense of pressurized quiet, broken only by those clipped, growling syllables. Then came the smoke. In a small room, a hazy atmosphere made his chest tight and his stomach turn, and it was like a vapor, and he was having a hard time breathing. And so, let's see, a Rio de Janeiro physician became the first person that interviewed him about this exam. His name was Olavo Fontes, and he said that the sensations were consistent with a sudden environmental change, and recorded the witness's speculation over the smoke served respiratory needs for the crew, especially an unhelmeted female he encountered next. So they vaporized the room so that the ETs could breathe, basically, around him. Okay, so they opened a door and a woman entered, small like the others, but different in ways that decades of retelling would magnify. In early translated notes, she is described as slight, sparse blonde hair and no visible eyebrows or eyelashes. Her features were sharp, her ears were small, her eyes set were slightly oblique. He recalled cat-like blue eyes, long platinum hair, and her body hair that was vividly red, just like Credo Mutwa said. Memory and translation disagree on the particulars, but a figure presented as deliberately smegdual, if you know what I mean, and deliberately silent. She did not kiss. She bit lightly at his chin. She did the do with him. And when it was over, she smiled and made an unmistakable gesture that lives in the literature as one of the most unnerving details. She pointed at her belly, then towards the sky, and Antonio's interpretation was direct. He believed he had been used as breeding stock and that any offspring would be raised up there. He was then allowed to dress and escorted on a prefectory, I don't know what that word is, tour. So he went on a tour of the craft, and he tried to steal a small clock-like instrument as proof. The door closed like it had never been there at all, and the machine, he said an attendant caught his hand and replaced the device. So he got caught trying to steal something out of the craft. That's wild. Okay. And moments later, the ladder telescoped. The door closed like it had never been there at all, and the machine rose without sound. 4 hours had passed. He had 4 hours of missing time. And he said that there was a lot of evidence left behind as well. He said the heel-less footprints pressed against the soil, 3 leg prints deep, enough to impress the family. It says 2 small lesions on his chin where blood had been taken. They were on his chin. And those were documented. Okay. And then he had nausea, he had loss of appetite, a burning sensation in his eyes, headaches, and skin eruptions that formed reddish tender nodules with a central pore. He felt weak and slept poorly. This cluster prompted medical attention. I'm assuming that may have been, I'm not going to speculate where those blisters were, but let's just say it's, geez. I mean, because we hear about that Brazilian, what was that? The Brazilian alien that the the guard, the police officer was holding to the hospital, and he died because that oil got on his skin. Do you remember that one? The Virginia incident?
Is that one that talks about the stuff that's on the grays? It's like got a toxicity to it?
Like an oil or something. That's on the grays, though. Now, this woman was not a gray. Or I call her a woman. Female
Was she a hybrid thing?
I guess. I don't know. Whatever she was. I don't know. We just, we haven't gone over that data yet. But, man. Yeah, we got that data coming up next. Okay, well.
Something that he was very descriptive of, like Credo, that they had in common, was that it was a not pleasurable sexual experience. That it was like being with the animal, that she was grunting and making these noises sometimes, like animal noises, occasionally. Yeah, that's what that they both made that comment, independently. I find stuff like that, interesting, and how unemotional she was during the whole time, and how she never blinked, no blinking.
Well, another thing that's weird is that they were taking blood out of his chin before this happened, and then she was biting on his chin. What's up with that? I mean, was she drinking his blood, do you think?
It's pretty close to the vampire area, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's in between the two areas that I've been told the vampires go for, because we hear traditionally in romantic standards that they bite your neck. But a friend of mine has told me she's been targeted by real vampires, and she was being cut in her inner lip at night while she was sleeping, and she would wake up with blood inside of her mouth on her lip, which I find really interesting. So, and they're saying on this one they were actually, so maybe she was a victim of like ETs doing that or something. Maybe the vampires are actually ETs. All roads lead back to ET, right? So, okay.
Interesting.
Well, I digress. I think it's pretty interesting. Okay, well, I mean, should we go to the next target then? And let's find out. Let's see. We have some pictures, right?
Were you going to go over the data?
Yes, we're going to go over the data. Okay, so this is what he remembers right here. These are the. What is this? This came up too. Those are the suits they were wearing, I'm assuming.
Yeah, they're supposed to be the suits. Yeah. I always find it interesting when we come upon beings that are wearing suits or have the fish or humanoid have the fish bowls over their heads. I find that interesting. I always have, because it shows that there's a good chance that they're definitely not from this biosphere, and that the contaminants here are a problem.
Okay. Well, let's get to the data on this young lady alien thing. Okay.
Right on.
Let's see. Okay. So we have two targets here. Now the first target is just her. Okay, who this alien was. Okay. And then what is the second target, Barry? Because you had me go in and remote view it again. What was the second target for this one?
It's the same. The woman and
same.
Just origin. Yeah.
Just the origin.
I was a little different because the Credo one had a little bit more information concerning like something else to focus on. You know what I mean? But it's mainly just her and also place of origin, since there were others with her that were camouflaged.
Okay. Very super cool. Okay, let's do this. All right, so let's go to this case with Anthony Vilas-Boas. Okay, so from what was that, the 1950s. Semi-sensory data for this female ET is long, dirty, nerdy, grounded, solid, captured, protected, metallic, unified, firm, direct, and large. Okay. And so let's go over, that's my sensory data. Let's go over to the analytic overlay. Okay. I wrote, there was a close call. So I wrote down aimed at, like I was picking up on a bow and arrow, kind of like somebody was targeted. It's another targeted individual. Okay. So aimed at, I wrote Tipler cylinder is in my data, Barry. taking notes, satellite and pictures, armor, a meteor is in my data, a direct hit, on target, and I wrote pirate. She's a space pirate, obviously. Okay, she's a space pirate. And I wrote never a dull moment, encourage, lighten it up, and arrival. Okay, and for my drawing, I drew it looks like a bow and arrow with an arrow pointed somewhere at a target. Okay, so either she's a target or she's targeting him.
Well, I find the armor thing interesting. That would explain. That kind of points to the others. What were the two things before and after armor?
Taking notes and satellite pictures. Satellites and pictures. So, I don't know. Are they taking samples and stuff? Are they obtaining samples around the universe? Around the solar system? I mean, is that what she's doing? She's spreading. She's
sperm samples.
Getting the seeds? Yes. Exactly.
Biological uplifters.
Yeah. She's shopping around for the right donor, is what she's doing. Okay, well, let's go to the next.
So, yeah, keep going on. Sorry.
Okay, let's go to the next one. I've just got 2 pages of data for this. That's all. We're going to go to stage 4. I wrote down, I was picking up on like some kind of altitude or something. What I thought I was seeing was like an atom or something that was, or like, you know how Saturn has the rings around it and it's like a planet with the rings, but I was seeing like rings going, latitude and longitude wise. Okay, like up and down, like something was spinning. And I drew that. And I wrote down something was, I said reverse course. Like I was seeing something that was like going one direction and then they reversed the direction. So reverse the course. Space age, and futuristic is what I was picking up on. And molecule or planetary. I actually picked up on bacteria as well. Bacteria had something to do with this target, Barry. And something that was earthbound and galactic. Earthbound and galactic. Something space age, something futuristic, something that was interplanetary, and it had to do with bacteria, and it was earthbound. So that was that target right there. Did you pick up anything from that?
I didn't look at all this. I didn't get a chance to look at all the data like I normally try before we do these. Mm-hmm. So I'm brand new to everything you're saying. The first thing that you mentioned, the rings around, and you said it was like a planet, but it wasn't a planet, but the rings around something
like that. But and here's another thing too, Barry, is look what I drew for the second time I did it. Look at my drawing for that one. It's the exact same thing. I drew it twice. It's the exact same drawing for both. And I did this weeks after this one. And I didn't know. And I had the exact same drawing, Barry. And this is not my stage 3. This is like in my stage 4 data. And this is stage 3 data. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know if that means anything, but that has something to do with this daggum target. Because it's twice in both targets.
Keep talking for a second, because I'm gonna.
Okay.
Oh.
So, well, let's get into. I'm gonna go ahead and get the data because I only have a page of data for the second one. The second time I did it, because I couldn't squeeze any more data out of it. I tried. Whatever this next target was, this is just a deeper look into that first session that I did that we just went over. And so on this one. So my sensory data for this one is thin, watched, growing. Watched is an important one. Growing, level up, hardened, tired, spinning, upside down and right side up. Okay, upside down and right side up. Just like I don't know. All right, let's just say, okay, so the first thing, my analytic overlay, the first thing I wrote down before I wrote down even any sensory data, I wrote down film. Okay, film. And I wrote down payment, dynamics, leveling up, growth, future faker. term and term limits, fate, and a ball that was spinning. A spinning ball. Okay.
Again, a spinning ball.
Spinning ball. That's in my
Okay.
data. And I wrote
Okay.
atom. I thought maybe I was looking at an atom that was spinning. On atom, ball spinning, topsy-turvy, malicious intent. Check yourself. It's coming. That's what I wrote down. That was all my data right there. Check yourself. It's coming. Malicious intent, Barry. Okay, let's pull this up. Oh my God, that's what I drew. What is this?
You've seen that dozens of times by now.
I know. Is this the engine to a UFO craft or something? I can't remember.
That's I think it's more of a brain. It's
brain.
the thing that I call it the gyrospheric engine. And what it has is at the bottom, you know, when you said the circulating rings, it immediately caught my attention. And if you see that it's actually circulating around a ball that looks quite similar to what we call C60 or a fullerene, and that takes us into the honeycomb conjecture. Why do the bees use the hexagon to store their energy? And this is dealing with bringing material from one dimension to another. And what you've got is some type of a magnetic containment and a polarizing effect on this light. This creates what they called it the living light. And that's a huge deal. Those are like decks above. And, you know, it's just what I find it very interesting. You know, like I saw this when this happened to me. This is like probably 1994 when I saw this thing. Or actually, sorry, no, it was a little earlier than that. This was like, man, like 90 or 91. Anyway, point being, when a few years later, the movie Contact came out, and the thing that they would drop Jodie, whatever her name was, what's her name?
Foster.
Jodie, yeah, thank you. I want to say Jodie Klein. That's Calvin Klein. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, but well, the thing that they dropped her through though had a configuration of spinning rings that looked somewhat similar. And, you know, I trip out on stuff like that. When I see this later, I said, well, somebody's seen something similar to this. You know, and this is something, you know, it's not exclusive to probably the beings I was dealing with. And they've warned me before how some of this technology has gone to lower vibrational civilizations that are way more advanced than us. So that's what that brought in for me. It kind of effed with me a little bit, to be honest. I just heard you say that. I wasn't expecting to hearing that, but when you start dealing with time dilation too, and gravity modification and black holes and things, this is where this technology is at. You know?
Oh man. And look at my data. That's what I drew right there for the second one. And here's the first one.
And that's the way those things were moving around it, Jessica. They were moving like that.
Yeah, I drew arrows where it's moving, going in different directions. That's so cool.
There's something called like there's a gyrospheric ride at one of these amusement parks that looks like somebody sitting where that fullerene is, and they're spinning at the same time. They're moving within it, the same time the rings are going around. That's exactly what that thing looked like, okay, what it was doing. Okay. And again, it created this type of sickness while I was around it. And that thing is big. It's not little, okay? It wasn't like just a little room. That thing was huge. It seemed like I was inside of almost like a skyscraper. When you look up, you know, look past those decks there. Anyway, it's just a correlation there. But I got to tell you, I didn't, just so everybody knows, during that experience, I didn't get mounted by any Nordic women or anyone else. It was not a sexual encounter at all, okay? I've not had encounters of that type, so at least not on ships anyway with aliens.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's really cool that you've made that connection. And I knew there was something to this, but it's in both targets of both sessions of the same target. So cool. That's awesome.
Wow.
Well, how about that malicious intent, though, Barry? How about the malicious intent? What do you think about that?
Corrupted forces, dark forces. You know, most likely, as what we know now, human involved. Humanly involved. Human involved. I mean, it's, you know, it's not like I'm the only person to experience this. Maybe not many were talking about it, but I knew I wasn't the only person because I saw 7 people touching that living light. But I don't know if they were on, those are decks there. And it was that first deck there. And it's like, and I got more sick because I could see them kind of like one person like touching that light over the rail, but they look like phased out. You could kind of see through them. And I wanted to go up there and say, man, what the hell's going on up there? And so I wanted to go up there. And even the thought of trying to go up there, suddenly it's like I got sucked up there and I was just there. And I got really sick then, really bad. You know what I mean? And yeah, like to a point of where it was, about to ruin the experience. That's why those people were there in dream form, body energy form, because they didn't have to go through that. They weren't getting sick. They could do whatever the instructions or whatever they were getting there from that living light. And it's some sort of a healing deal going on there. So anyway, but what you're dealing with here is a civilization that's corrupted it. That same way that they warned me about that synaptic helmet in a different experience and virtual reality scenario technology and stuff. And that's a term back then I had hardly even heard of. Nobody's talking about VR back then. You know what I mean? But but I understand it more now. It was just that stupid thing at the mall. We had a real cool arcade. And outside of the arcade was this thing. It looked like a cross between a boat and like a trailer. And there's a couple of seats there. You sit in there. They put the helmet. It's like a full helmet thing they put on you, and it was pretty lame. But it cost like $30, $25 to sit in that thing for 15 minutes. That's what they called it, virtual reality. But it was sorry compared to the stuff we even got right now. Let alone you get civilizations that are a couple thousand years ahead of us in holographic technology and engineering. Oh. All bets are off then,
Oh, yeah.
When you start dealing with things like, the stabilizing of not just polarized light at different deals, but also particle synthesis that can make those things seem real. You can touch it, experience it, feel it, more than just seeing it, or even more to the point you get around these beings, Jessicas, that can do that through optical nerves. Directly to your optical nerves and have you perceiving things that are not there, whether it's the way they look or the very environment you're in. And they're strong enough to actually make a whole false environment holographic through their optical nerves and force of will. That's serious stuff. And it puts us at a disadvantage as people. It goes much beyond just them being able to answer your questions before you can speak them or think them, It goes into messing with your reality and your ability, your awareness to perceive things.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think it's good that we've talked about the orb technology. And like the stuff in those orb stations, those orbs, whether they're microscopic or not, based on that quantum hologram principle we've talked about, can get in your biofield and completely warp your reality. Your awareness and your consciousness as far as what you're perceiving. We are beings of perception, we respond to stimuli. That's what we do.
Yeah, we do. Oh man. Well, this is pretty fantastic. This is all back in the 1950s too, when all this happened with these two men. And I don't know, do you want to move on to the third one that we have? We have a third one, y'all. And this happened in the 1990s, I believe.
Hey, real quick though. Mm-hmm. So basically, what would you say she came from, or she was though, overall with that data? Outside,
where did she come from? She was intergalactic for sure. She came from another. I think she came. I say intergalactic. It says galactic in my data, so I'm going to say galactic. She's probably outside of our solar system. I don't know where she came from. I have no idea.
And you think. Excuse me.
She's a pirate.
Credo's was more human, military, extraterrestrial, more Earth-based than this one. It's kind of what I got from that data. Is that what you're kind of saying? All of these women may look the same, have the same characteristics. One seems to be a little more non-Terrian.
I think that she came from the future too.
Really?
I do. It says futuristic. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she came from another. It says galactic and earthbound. She was earthbound, so she's not from here for sure. Definitely not from here. But it says galactic and earthbound. So I don't know. I don't have an answer other than earthbound. She was earthbound, coming from somewhere in the galaxy, and she had malicious intent. Okay, malicious intent, and yeah.
You know, yeah. He described her the same way, almost looking like a teenage girl, small, little, with the this kind of slant eyes. She's described so much as looking like the other one, but they're different though. That's fascinating in terms of origin. Wow. Good job, my friend. Good job. May not have all the answers, but that's a good start, you know.
It is. What is this one? Is this? Oh, this is for the.
That's him.
That's him, right?
Yeah, that's another expression of her down on the right down there.
Oh wow, she looks just like that statue from Credo Mutwa. It looks very similar.
Yeah,
it looks similar. The body looks similar.
Actually, it does.
It does. Okay.
You know, and it was described as similar. Their statue, their size. They were described as looking very similar. And I believe he said that her hair had a metallic look to it also.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you've got the red hair armpits.
The red body hair.
You know, I've been looking into redhead mermaids quite a bit. Melanin dominant redhead mermaids has been coming up quite a bit around Vermont, but that's neither nor here nor there.
Okay. Well, and the Nephilim too had red hair. The red hair giants as well.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Let's see. Is this fella? So this is the last one we're going to talk about tonight. Peter Koury. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah, Koury. Yeah. Peter
Koury. He's the one that actually had a hair sample left on his body. Okay. Well, how about I go through the data? I mean, we'll go through the summary of what happened with him. Okay. Cool. So let's do that. Okay. I'm gonna mute you, Barry, because I'm getting the feedback a little bit while I'm talking, and then I'll unmute you. Okay. Okay. So Peter Koury's case is the first alien abduction where an alien specimen was found in a human body, as revealed in a DNA test. Now, he was born in Lebanon in 1964, and he migrated to Australia in 1973, and he met his future wife, Vivian, and then the couple married in 1990. They have 2 children. His first encounter with the UFO happened when he was 7 years old, back in 1971. He said an egg-shaped UFO was hovering over children. Him and the other children, he noticed all the other children were frozen like statues, he said. And the kids had no recollection of the incident. He remembered it, but the other kids did not. Okay, and then in 1988, that was in 1971, 1988, Peter and Vivian were in Sydney, Australia, and they saw a strange moving light in the sky. But around 11 o'clock, they were staying with his family. And that night, his brother Sam invited him to watch a movie in his room. And Peter laid in his bedroom, but what happened next was completely frightening. He was lying on the bed. He felt paralysis in his whole body, and he could only move his eyes. He said, while lying on the bed, I felt something grab my ankles. As I felt this, a strange numbness, tingling, and turning sensation crawled up my body and right up to my head. I was paralyzed. I could not move any part of my body except for my eyes, which I could move open and closed. My brain was functioning, and I could not do anything physically. I tried to call out to my family, but I could not force the words out. At this stage, I started to panic, thinking I would not walk again. I thought I was truly paralyzed. And he said he thought in his mind this was a form of payback, a punishment for the less satisfactory life that he had led for about 6 years before he returned to his family or whatever. I guess he thought that God was punishing him or something. I don't think that he connected that to any kind of ET presence or anything at the time. But he said that if he survived this, that his community would think God's punishing him and God paid him back. Anyway, she said after that, hooded figures with wrinkled faces came into the room. Hooded figures with wrinkled faces. He said, the fear was so extreme. I'm gone. I'm dead. It's real. This is what he said. He said, I'm petrified and paralyzed. Irrational fears were crowding in. They were going to unalive me. I could die. The fear level was extraordinary. I was stressing out. How could I get out of this is what he was thinking. And he became aware of some sort of communication, seemingly telepathic. No sound was made, but he could hear the message in his mind. He was told not to worry. He was told that he would not be harmed and he needed to relax. And as he moved his eyes and looked to the side, he made eye contact with two beings who looked so different from the others. These were thin, tall, and big black eyes. They were tall and had big black eyes with a narrow chin. They were goldish yellow in color. He said the stress was gone immediately when they came in. The whole fear thing washed away as quickly as the light switch turned on. And how could he be so calm when he was experiencing so much fear, he thought, and his heartbeat was no longer racing. Peter said he saw 3 to 4 foot tall creatures with black wrinkled faces around him. He communicated with the aliens telepathically. He heard them saying that they would not harm him and even made eye contact with 2 of them. And he noticed that one of them was male and the other was female, and they were wearing masks. He said one of them inserted a needle into his head and he blacked out. He described him as tall, thin, with large black eyes, a golden yellow suit. After he came back to consciousness, he found out the creature had also drugged his family members. He also said that he thought 10 minutes to pass. It was actually an hour to 2 hours. And he had no idea what was going to happen next. And so that was, he was not assaulted at that time with the female. Okay, not yet. That's the next time. And so this was on July 23rd of 1992. He came home after dropping off his wife at a train station. It was around 7 a.m. He wasn't feeling well because he had been assaulted on his job site. And so he decided to go to bed to get some sleep. He felt something on the bed. He got up. He was shocked to see 2 strange women kneeling near his bed. He described one of them looking like a Nordic with an elonged face, big blue eyes, and a sharply pointed chin. Another was a woman who looked Asian. He said, I got the shock of my life because right on top of me was a female blonde, and she was just milky white. Her eyes were probably 2 to 3 times bigger than human eyes. And she had protruding cheekbones.
That's important. Remember the, I don't mean to interrupt, but remember the eye of the CJ Walker thing we're talking about. Mm-hmm. CJ Weeks, sorry. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. She had protruding cheekbones and a narrow face that narrowed down to a pointy chin. And on one side of the bed, on the corner of the bed, there was another female, an Asian-looking female, and then she, the blonde female, touches her stomach and points to the sky. That's just like with that last guy. Although no normal communication occurred, the Nordic woman seemed to be in charge. And Koury got the impression that he was giving the Asian-looking woman some sort of instruction. So she was like instructing the other lady, apparently. She was 6 feet tall and very strong. She tried to copulate with Peter by pulling him towards her chest, but he resisted and even bit her, which made him cough. Moments later, he looked up again, but both women had vanished. The coughing stimulated him to go to the bathroom to drink water. After that, he tried urinating and found blonde hair on himself and that of the Nordic alien woman. He kept the hair in a plastic bag with a seal. Peter refrained himself about telling Vivian for 2 weeks, although she had been very supportive of him about his 1988 abduction. In 1996, Harvard psychiatrist John Mack did a hypnotic regression on Peter to understand what had happened to him in 1988 under hypnosis. He said that he was taken into a room full of lights. He was on a table. A creature was above him and could not find out more than that. And so, yeah, he got the attention of a lot of UFO researchers, including Bill Chalker. He began an investigation into the case and did the world's first polymerase chain reaction DNA test on the hair sample. The results showed that the hair was biologically close to human genetics, but came from an unusual human race, probably a rare Chinese Mongoloid type. Could Peter Koury's 1988 alien encounter be an example of the well-established phenomenon known as sleep paralysis? Absolutely. It's not uncommon. It's happened to me, and I have experienced that. Okay, but this is crazy. Super wild.
What about the Nordic hair? Because when he had the one
that was the hair. That was the hair. Yeah, that was the hair. The blonde hair is the one that they examined, and they said that it turned out to be like Asian. Is that Mongolian or something? I don't know what that word even means.
I know it was super rare and super odd. Yeah.
So we have some remote viewing data for this. We have two targets. Oh my gosh. All right, let's go to the first one. Okay, so this is Barry's number 3. Barry's number 3 target. I have not written down what any of these things are, so I need to take a note after we get done with the show. This one is another targeted case. He is targeted. Look at this. I actually drew a literal target on here before. It wasn't even my stage 4 drawing. There's a target. All of these are targets. These men are all targets. All 3 of them. And so for this, so what was a target for this? Was it both women or just the blonde, Barry?
Just the blonde and her origin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into this. So for the remote viewing data, coordinate remote viewing data, for this case, my sensory data is retrieve, carried, hammered, unknown, hidden, blessed, and leader. Leader. Okay. Well, this is interesting because in one of those last targets, about the tattoos, I wrote down roundabout. Roundabout's in this target too, for some reason. So roundabout, nuke. I wrote nuke. It's part of my analytic overlay. I heard hurry up. Like I heard a voice say, hurry up. I wrote crosshairs, not good, locked and loaded, eyes. I literally wrote eyes down. Eyes, timeline, shift to timeline, fifth dimension, leaders. I wrote craft, and then I wrote craft a plan, and then I wrote comatose and coma. And then I wrote what looks like an omega symbol. Okay, so my stage 3 drawing was an omega symbol, but I also wrote a target in the crosshair. Crosshair is like on a rifle. Okay, what do you think about that, Barry? That's my first 3 stages.
I don't know. Keep going. I mean, I don't know, to be honest. What do you make of that?
I mean, I think there's some. He said they thought they were leaders. That's exactly what's in my data. They're leaders, trying to shift the timeline to the 5th dimension, or maybe they're from the 5th dimension and they're trying to shift. They're here to shift a timeline. They are here to shift a timeline. Okay, timeline shift.
Interesting.
And it has to do with crafting a plan, and they are. It has to do 100% with retrieving something as well, and it's probably his body fluid. Okay, that's what I think. Let's go to the next page.
Cool. All
right, so the next page. This is stage 4. I wrote asleep. I picked up on like a coma and comatose, and then I realized that I was watching someone who was asleep. So I think that that's what they're doing to him. They were putting him to sleep, putting him kind of like in a temporary coma, kind of. I heard, I wrote down, pray for me. And then I picked up on something metallic, like a bullet. I wrote down bullet, something that was moving fast. And I wrote down aerial drone. Something was flying. So it looked like a spaceship. So I drew it looks like a round orb, and it's like shooting through the air, like darting. And you can see the movement. Wrote aerial drone, hit or miss, landing, return flight, There were many of them. Whatever this was, there were a bunch of them. So I wrote many. And I wrote looks like a triangular craft. With like lights all around it or something, like on the outside of it, or a pyramid. It's either a pyramid or like a craft. And I wrote down return flight, receipts, black box, and council. COUNCIL, like a council of people. Okay, I'll show you the picture I drew. That's the picture I drew. And this is like the little thing that's like flying right there. All right, let's go to the next page. Okay, so
you know what's weird is you just have the triangle on there, and then on the thing you have this flying. You have the 3 little lines coming out of it, and if you took that and turned that upside down, it almost looks like that lady's chin and the lines are. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Anyway, no, just I see weird stuff.
Oh, it does. Yeah, the one you turn it that way, it's like the 3 chins, the 3 lines on her chin. Okay. Well, this is all really interesting because I was picking up on religious data because I wrote down pray for me. And then I was picking up on Christian as well as in this data. So I picked up on a council. That was the last thing I wrote down on my 2nd page. And then on my 3rd page, going into this, I wrote down a league, LEAGUE, a council, a league. I felt like there was like a team of something, a team of people, a team of something. And I actually wrote centaur, but then I think I was picking up on center, like the center of something. And then I wrote down wounded. And I was seeing a squiggly line, like a portal symbol. And I drew that. And I wrote down Christian. And then I heard go into it, and hold my hand. Go into it, hold my. It was almost like I was seeing a portal open up and somebody was saying, come here, like basically follow me into this portal. Okay. And so it said, but I wrote down Christian. So then I started like picking up on maybe going into the light when somebody dies. Like that's what I was picking up on. And I heard hold my hand, go into it. And then I started hearing these tones, these frequencies, energetics, and a stairway to heaven. And then I wrote portal. And then I heard pack light. And then I ended the target because I was like, well, shoot, you're not taking me up there right now. I don't think I'm ready to go quite yet. Okay. But it was really interesting though. It was like something was like trying to get me to take its hand and like go into this portal. And it was like a stairway to heaven. I actually drew like a stairway into a portal. And I just did a show on that about a week or 2 ago. That stairways and portals in the woods.
Let's see it.
The drawing.
Well, little be me, but that all is centered around what the first part of the data you got was about time manipulation. So I believe what you're describing there is time technology, a gate of some type that they're using to try to jump timelines and to mess everything up. That's yeah.
That could be like a Stargate. Well, they're changing the timelines. They're working on the timelines.
And when you say Stargate, I think it may be more of a temporal fissure, a time fissure, than just a regular Stargate in terms of just transport. It may be a time device. In fact, okay. Oh wow, I'm picking this up. Think about the Guardian on the Edge of Forever. The Guardian on Star Trek, the original. There's this one of my favorite episodes. It's called City on the Edge of Forever. And on there they come across this oracle. It's this time device. What do they call it? Not the keeper. Anyway, it's actually circular too, similar to that. That's fascinating. Wow.
Okay. Well, and I did say a while ago I wasn't even going to say this because there's a lot of data I don't always disclose everything to the audience, right? Because sometimes I don't think it may not matter or like it's just kind of random. But I did say centaur, right? Centaur because it was like league, a council, and then league, and I wrote centaur. And that's so cool. What about Alpha Centauri? Maybe that's what I was trying to, what I was trying to, because, you know, I hear things and I just write down what I hear, right? Or what I'm sensing. But Alpha Centauri or Proxima Centauri. Thank you, Rose, Thistle Artworks. It says Proxima Centauri is the closest star to the sun at 4.2465 light years, which is 1.3020 parsecs, while Alpha Centauri, A and B are the nearest stars visible to the naked eye. What if that has, maybe that's where she's from? It's in the data.
You've remote viewed Alpha Centauri, remember?
I
gave
have.
it to you a blind target. Yeah, based on information I had and what Dr. Delbert Blair had said about the beings that he met from there. They're actually melanin dominant. So it was what there's I can't remember the name of that, the exoplanet that they found there. There's two of them, I do believe. And you remote viewed that. And so it's quite possible there could be a connection there. You know, there's definitely to a degree ethnic ETs there too, and the other woman fits that description to a degree. So, you know, it's quite possible if it's connection to Alpha Centauri. It could be.
Centaur. And then I wrote center because I just look, these are blind targets, so I don't know what the heck I'm looking at, y'all. I'm just getting the data. It's just kind of rushing in. I just write it down. Thank you so much, Rose Thistle Artworks. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, so that's kind of cool. I still got another, and I did go back in and I went deeper into that one. So I've got this one last target we can go over, and then we can make our summary after this. Okay, because I think they're all related. Sounds like they are. Definitely.
That was the main goal, was to see the connection, if there was one.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go to this one. Okay, so this is just going a little bit deeper into that target. Okay, Barry gave me another set of coordinates. Oh my gosh. All right, let's see here. So let's go into the sensory data. Oh my God. I'm laughing because I must have been like in a time warp when I did this. I just did this one yesterday. I wrote down that it was December 8th instead of, what is this, July? I wrote 12/8. I don't know why I did that. I keep looking at this like, is this the right target? I wrote the wrong month down, y'all. I'm so sorry. 12/8/2026. That's weird. Why would I do that? That is really weird. Okay. Anyways, that's my own problem, y'all. I wrote down December 8th. I'm living in the future, apparently. Okay. So, smooth. Okay, so this target, I did this last night or yesterday, y'all. Okay, so the sensory data for this target is smooth, calibrated, exact, hot, warm, red, damage, and destructive. Okay, destructive. And okay, let's see. So we got more target data, Barry. Believe it or not, I wrote on target, laser pointed, red, green, directed energy weapon. Just throw it down. Destruction. Hold on one second. Yeah.
Boy, this is bad data, man.
It is bad. This is really bad.
This target is pretty much sucked. Pretty much.
It gets worse. It gets worse, actually. Just wait more. Okay. So directed energy weapon, destruction, blast off, explosion, annihilation, apocalypse, catastrophic, doomsday, prepper, linked in and linked up. And that is for the alien lady that encountered, that this Peter guy encountered in 1992. And I have more data. I actually have some more, like this is the drawing that I did. It's kind of like links over what looks like an explosion or something, maybe like UFOs, or I don't know what that is. Y'all can decide. That was my drawing. Could be orbs, could be, I was getting like links of like a chain and then like kind of looks like grass or an explosion underneath it. I don't know. Okay, so let's go to the next page. Okay, connected is my sensory data. Connected, connection, turbulence, in the air, in space, something's levitating, propulsion, time travel through space and time, traveling, moving, air out, painful, uncomfortable, lonely, left behind and lonely, and confused. The end. I literally wrote the end at the end of this, and I just quit the session because it was just weird. I was like, this is just annihilation, complete annihilation. People, everything exploded, everything's gone, and then somebody got left behind, and they're lonely, and it's uncomfortable, and it's confusing, and I just ended the session. Okay, so what do you make of that, Barry? That's crazy.
Well, we talk about these factions that are trying to put us on a timeline of nuclear war, that are trying to destroy this place. You're describing that one of those factions. I mean, that was some of the most negative data I've heard of, like all the targets we've ever done. It's right up there with the worst of them. That's about as bad as the missing 411 stuff. That was terrible.
Nuke is in one of my other targets. I said nuke in one of my previous targets tonight. Nuke.
Which one was it? Nuke. Credo or Vilas?
Let me go
look. Sorry, bullets.
Let's see. Let's see here.
Terrible, man.
I think it was Credo's, actually. Hold on, because I have a lot of papers here. Nuke was in my data. Just have to find it. Nuke. It's here somewhere. I don't know, maybe the second one. I'll find it. It was definitely my data because I just read it. Nuke. Hold on. Adam. It's coming. Remember, okay, the second one we just did, I was like, it's coming. There's malicious intent. Check yourself, Adam. I wonder if that could also be about like an atom bomb or something. I don't know.
Could be. Or something based on the
something that's arriving. All of these are about something that's arriving. It's earthbound. Something that's earthbound. Reverse course, pole shifts. I can't find it. It was in here. I swear I just saw it. It said nuke. Oh, it's on this one. It's literally on this one. The one that we just did. It's literally on this one. It says nuke. Nuke is this. It says roundabout and then nuke. That's the second word I wrote down. Crosshairs. It's in the crosshairs, Barry. Crosshairs, not good, locked and loaded, timeline shift, fifth dimension craft. And then we got all this annihilation when I went deeper into it. So nuke is 100% on the top of my analytic overlay. They're crafting a plan because of a nuke.
Well, let's forget about Alpha Centauri. Let's talk about another target that you did.
Okay.
Tau Ceti F. Remember that?
E. I did E. I think it was E, wasn't it?
Was it E? It might have been, yeah.
It was E.
E and F are the only two worth RVing in that system. And what came out of that, which shocked me, which was what you were seeing was a nuclear type of from orbit detonation there, destruction. And then you were seeing an exodus from there to Mars.
Oh,
and the reason why I gave you that target, because I wanted to focus on the melanin dominant beings that would look like smaller grays, but they're very dark, like Marvin the Martian Hunter, but they're really melanin dominant. And what happened is they came to Mars, and I was even comparing to what they're supposed to have, these Moorish type of headdresses that is probably the face on Mars is representing them, and there's a connection with them and even the Olmecs as well. But then that takes us into Brandenburg's work on his book called Death on Mars, and how there was supposedly there was obliterated from orbit, and you've got like those certain isotopes and things in atmospheres that shows there's been a nuclear fallout there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Now,
And they came to Earth.
what you were seeing where these beings did that same thing on Tau Ceti E, and they came to Mars and did it too. Okay, when you compare what you saw with what Brandenburg is saying also. And now throwing this in there, you're dealing, it sounds like another faction or the same one is trying to do that right here on Earth. Obliterate us from orbit. And man, if you think about, I mean, seriously, taking all jokes out of it, old Marvin the Martian, you remember how he showed up? He had a big old super weapon he was trying to blow up the Earth. And he just had it pointed right at Earth. Did you remember?
Yes. He had like a ray gun or something.
It's massive. It would take out the entire population. It's not funny, really, but I mean, in reality, I mean, you see these things that are masked in literature, and that takes us into my friend Erlene and Shirlene Wallace, the UFO twins. And they said that they had experience, they were on Mars, and they had met melanin dominant beings there on Mars. So that kind of starts tying into this stuff, you know, just trying to figure, like I said, it's not sometimes dealing with quote unquote the different races like that brings this information together. You know what I mean? For all of us as a collective. So, but what you're saying about that, but when you talk about one of these factions that's trying to jump us to a bad timeline, you're talking about one there. And that these women that, well, you know, got Peter's balls off, I'm sorry, had sexual relations with him or whatever, leaving hair on the dude or whatever, man, you know, was a bad faction though. And I mean, even decisively worse than the other two targets. The other two targets weren't exactly, you know, Mr. Sunshine, but they weren't as bad as that last one. That was horrible data.
Exactly. Yeah, the last one was very ominous. It was very bad. And that's the most recent one. It is. I mean, I don't know.
What encounters in 88 and 92, right? I think were the 2 years. Yeah. And you know, he did a lot of work with Dr. John Mack too. We respected Dr. Mack's work. He's pretty cool. You know, it's too bad he had an early demise. He was doing good work.
Man. Well, it's a little worrisome, but I think we can change these timelines. You know what I mean? I mean, try to have a positive outlook. Look, lately, I just don't have a positive outlook on a whole lot.
Don't let that stick and take
it so hard. I'm trying so hard, Barry, to be positive, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Well, you're going through a wave. See, I don't want you to be like the guy you met in Helen. The guy saying, "Hey, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done with this. I don't work with anybody anymore." Don't. I mean, right now you've got stuff being thrown at you that's trying to discourage you to stop. And that's what they want. These forces want you to stop what you're doing. Therefore, you're going through all the pains of not getting the credit that you're due, getting these idiots looking to be famous that will be your friends for a little bit. And then when they get what they want, they need, they just steal your information and stab you in the back. You know, bid you over and do basically the Peter Koury to you with no Vaseline or nothing. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of you get the
oh man,
you get the Credo / Peter / Vilas-Boas treatment with no Vaseline. Damn. Anyway, I'm sorry, just kidding. But seriously, I mean, don't let that stuff discourage you. You know, I had reached that point too, and you're the person that kept me kind of going. You know, in terms of I said, well, somebody else will work again with. That's cool, and we're still working together to this day. So you know, keep your eye on that and the fact that really you're helping a lot of people, and not everybody. You know, like people that are watching. Not everybody's in chat. Some people don't communicate hardly at all. Some do. You know, I've been starting to get like through the work we're doing, the lives I'm doing, getting a lot of new clients, and the work is so interesting. The people are so interesting. Whether it's a past life they've done, or an encounter they've had. You know, I did with somebody that does those conferences, somebody that's known in these circles, we had done like kind of a past life thing. And sometimes I have a technique to find out how many, since the beginning of the creation of planet Earth, how many lifetimes has an immortal soul had on this planet that's living here right now we're doing the regression with.
Mm-hmm.
And this person had like one of the higher ones I had heard, 81 previous incarnations on Earth. Now, whether they're all in humanoid form, I do not know. A few of them were that were harboring, still storing trauma. You know, it's amazing. You get 81 lifetimes worth of trauma in this body you got right now, passed through the electrical field, passed through the souls, passed through the. Isn't that wonderful? And you get the stuff from your descendants too, man. It's like, oh, great. You know, man, your ancestors, you get all their stuff too, man. Yeah, it's wonderful. Good old planet Earth. This place is a place of living and place of school. Like I said, it'll teach you what you need to know here. And if not, you'll come back and learn it. And work hard as you send your own self back. Oh, great. Anyway, point being, it's just it's interesting though, you know, and things that I want you, you know, just to keep your head up and keep the, you got a lot of people that enjoy the work you're doing. You don't always see it, you know. We get this negative stuff. Sadly, I'm like that too. We get one negative thing amongst like 10 positives, and that negative sticks out like a sore thumb. You know what I mean? It's just weird. But yeah, so yeah, I guarantee you, you know. So it's just you're going through those growing pains, but that's all right. You keep growing, keep expanding, keep doing what you're doing, reaching more people. And you know, and there are people out here that have had experiences and they're looking for answers. I know I was and still am. You know what I mean? You're providing some of those. You know, sometimes, and you deal with some of the fantasy stuff, but you also deal with some of the reality stuff too, and I like that. Mm-hmm. You know, because some of the stuff we hear, I'm just gonna be honest, you know, that's where you and I are a little different. Some of it is too fantastical for me, and I think a lot of these people are full of BS. The stuff they're saying, they ain't experienced that. They ain't done that. They ain't got no superpowers, no nothing, man. They're just regular defecating, urinating people like you and I. You know what I mean? So that fantasy.
I don't do that, Barry. What? I don't do that.
Are you a clone? You know, when you've got that,
talk about
that discernment, though, it makes it difficult sometimes. You know what I mean? And that discernment is very important. And the fact of dealing with a little bit of both, because there is neuroprogramming and all this stuff going on. So it's not to disqualify what anybody says they've experienced, but we need to find out what is physical, what isn't, and what's been engineered within the last 30 years. I'm hearing contact stuff change immensely. The whole narrative that needs to be addressed. It's being done purposely, especially to keep us division. And right now, with all that narrative comes this great division amongst contactees and awake people. That's division. You know what I mean? And that stops us from getting to any real information. Sorry, it's just still talking. People still talking about bodily functions, or what is it?
Carrie, that's fine, Carrie. I'm just talking behind on the comments, Carrie. I'm not going to say that out loud. That's fine.
Well, it's been a crazy episode full of sexual innuendo and all sorts of stuff from all sorts of different factions, all sorts of different races. Like that, it's great.
Oh, I do have a belly button, Rose Thistle. Okay, I do have a belly button. I used to have a pierced belly button when I was young. Okay, that was a long time ago. But yeah, that's no. I enjoy doing this stuff. I love it. You know, we're doing something over here. I got this remote viewing stuff. It's, you know, I was the first one that I know of to ever really start doing some of these targets of these cryptid cases and stuff. And I think that's really cool. And I'm going to continue to do it. Okay, but you know, I'm not going to be doing this forever. Okay, and so it's kind of like where I'm at. I've only been doing it for a few years publicly. But sometimes it's like, I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Maybe I should go do something different. You know what I mean? Like we're always evolving, y'all. You know what I mean? We're always evolving, Barry. And sometimes I feel like, man, I state that I've remote viewed everything. I feel like I've remote viewed everything. Like, but then I end up getting some good targets like these tonight. Do you know what I mean? And so I really do appreciate the ingenuity of like the way your brain works, Barry. I love it. And you give me some of the best targets.
Well,
And so yeah, listen, I'm a regular human too, y'all. I'm not a clown. You have a belly button. Okay. And what she said, I poop rainbows. But you know, we all get tired. Yeah. We all get tired. You know, maybe I need a vacation. Maybe that's what it is. I need a real vacation. I hadn't had one in a while. So maybe something like that, but we'll see.
Yeah, like the sailors call it a shore leave, you know, get a few days away and get a little bit of time off, you know. You know, you had mentioned something we were chatting earlier, and you had said how there needs to be a big understanding the difference between real, truly like professionally trained remote viewing opposed to astral vision and astral looking at things psychically. There is a difference. The remote viewing has the psychic vision in it, but it also is a system of data collection. It's a little different. And I think a lot of these people, you know, that are making it, and everybody's training it now. Everybody's training remote viewers and teaching remote viewing when they've probably not been trained real themselves. And I hear you and others that have been trained like you starting to point that out. And I think it needs to be brought to light because it's becoming more of a gimmick. And I think it's not a gimmick, it's a system. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like, I'm sorry, CE5, you go to them conferences, CE5 has become a gimmick. When I first had to do one, like that's been years ago now, but I mean, I quickly found out listening to these personalities talk about each other, you know, like this guy and Greer talking about each other about, oh, they couldn't get any ships out there. When I did it, there were 35 ships. And when they called Greer out there, it was to clear the skies. Nothing came. You know, everybody's laughing. You know, I was like, oh, well, they're using CE5 to justify your contactee status. If you're a real badass contactee, if you're a badass, you get at least 15 plus ships when you go up there and, hey, I want to see UFOs. And you go out there and boom, there's 15, 20, 30 if you're really a badass.
And you know what happens after that? You get 15 to 30 probes that night.
Could be, man. You know, I talked about CE5, man. I think unless, you know, there's a guy I met named Costa Marquez. Marquez, is how we pronounce it. He's super cool, and he's one of the people, him and Preston Dinner, some of the people who really started CE5. And they don't get any credit for it. I hear people talk about Greer all the time, but those guys started that. He didn't start that. You know what I mean? And the way Costa does it, they're really trying to bless and protect it before they do a session, but they're trying to do it globally. But they're really into protection and focusing on what beings you're really trying to contact. Are they part of the divine field or not? I think that's important. But you don't hear about Costa as much as you do these other people doing this stuff, people that are more into the gimmick part of it. And I hate to see remote viewing turned into a gimmick.
Well, it's not. It's, well, I don't know. I don't know if this is the time to get into this conversation. I really want to. The head of my research team has agreed to come on my show. And we're going to have him join. And he is highly trained in remote viewing. He's the best remote viewer I've ever met. Okay. And I don't know if he's going to ever get into his background, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, there are people who have died from remote viewing particular targets. I'm talking, I don't mean die because they got sick while they were doing it. They were targeted and taken out. Okay. So we have to be, that's why I don't teach it. Okay. That's why I am very careful about how deep I get into some of this stuff. Okay. And that's why a lot of targets are off limits. And that's why I only let particular people task me with targets and stuff. So it is very dangerous. And so, and like I said, I'm trained in different modes. There's many different modes of remote viewing. I think the safest one to do, and the one that I do publicly with you guys, is coordinate remote viewing. okay, where I'm given the blind set of coordinates. And that is where I actually have pages of data to present to my tasker. Okay, whoever gave this to me, that's going to be a safe one. But I'm also trained in several other modes. Okay, that's not where you don't write it down like that and stuff. Okay, and it's very dangerous. It is dangerous. It's dangerous, you know, doing psychic spying and stuff like that. And so it's not just like I know the target beforehand. I'm just going to go astral travel over to it and dream my dream state and stuff. That's not how that works. That's not how we work like that. And so it's a science. Let's just say it's a science, and we collect scientific data down here in South. But anyways, that's it. You know, I can get into a conversation with that. I'd like to. I'm no expert on it. I don't ever claim to be an expert on it. It's my favorite hobby. Okay, and so that's what I do. I don't claim to be an expert in it.
You know, something that's cool though is that, you know, because I can see clairvoyantly, you know, so I'm not a remote viewer, and I've restrained not learning and taking a deal with you and learning it real good or something, so I can still stay on the other side and deal with what they call astral vision and seeing. When you see means seeing energy directly in the universe, directly, and once you do that, that is psychically seeing, and I can do that. And I often want to see how much of the data that you get from the remote viewing matches up with what I'm seeing. Something like High Brazil is a good example, you know, or even I have vision sometimes. How much of that ties into the reality of what you get from the RV. So that makes it interesting. You know what I mean? It keeps a small boundary there for those that remote view, those that don't, and those that do something different, I guess. You know what I mean? But it's interesting, and it's been fun. You know, stuff like this is very interesting. And some stuff, excuse my language, I'm just damn curious about. You know?
Thank you, Rose. Yeah. It's Susan. Hey, Susan. She says, I hate it when a-holes try to remote view me. I do too. You know what?
Oh, tell me about it.
You got to put up some protection around you, y'all. Okay. And that's like, I mean, we have watched this remote viewer. I'm going to say they're probably remote viewers because they were spying on us when we were doing some of our training. And so we could actually see them. Some of us could see them and could sense them. It was weird. You know, you do get the attention of people when you start getting into the stuff that I do. And yeah.
You know, that's becoming an issue right now. People trying to remote everybody, and then also doing these damn cold readings. I find it offensive. Okay, first of all, I'm very well shielded, and these people trying to read on me, they're bouncing off my shields. They're getting stuff that they start telling me stuff that is not even remotely correct or anything, but they think their imagination's kicking in and they're really just going at it. And it's a cold reading. You didn't even ask me if you may read me, so you're bouncing off my shields. You know, stuff like some of us do really know how to protect ourselves.
Yes.
And it throws off people that are don't have permission. Their gifts aren't what they think they are, or they're being intrusive. Shields bounce off. People bounce off. Intrusive people will bounce off a real well-shielded person and don't know what they're interpreting, what they're getting, really. And they start making stuff up. And it can be very offensive when they tell someone about that. You know, like, for example, you know, like if I've got somebody standing there, like not that long ago, was sitting there, these two ladies, and one of them has got, you know, there's a spirit attached to them. And when I say that, it's not an earthbound. It's, you know, once people do their crossover thing, they come back, they help, they leave, they're around, the quantum entanglement thing. And this person, this woman is attached to this other woman. And so I ask, you know, I start asking, give me some survival evidence. If I'm going to say something to this person, I don't want to look like a total nutcase to stand the counter. Hey, by the way, you know, this dead person is saying this and that. It says it's this and that. I'll ask for survival evidence and they'll give me something. Then when you say something to the person, it's like, boom, it's 100% target. They know you're not a nutcase. But I mean, it's nice to get permission for that before you tell somebody something like that. Even if you have that, you know what I mean? It's just, it's interesting, but cold readings are in right now. So
cold readings? I don't even know what I never even heard of a cold reading.
Cold reading, just trying to tell somebody, I'm picking this up on you. and
Oh,
tried to
yeah.
read you without your permission.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
You
like
know,
that
and
either.
even
I don't
tried
like
to
that
sit up
either.
there and read you without your permission. You know,
Yeah.
it's a different deal. There's a fine line between courtesy and rudeness,
Yeah. That's true. Well,
and between courtesy and initiative also.
yes. Well, me and the head of my team, we were talking the other day, like, the reason that he nor I teach remote viewing to just anybody. I've taught one person and he picked it up immediately. Then the first day he was hitting all the targets I gave him. Okay. But it was only the first 3 stages that he learned. He only learned the 3 stages. There's a coordinate remote viewing. We've been training for years in all this, in these different modes. But anyways, I'm just saying, I know I can teach it. I'm good at it. Okay. But see, like, it's so intrusive and stuff, and it can get, and with my track record, everybody turns on me, Barry, and it would be used against me in some way if I taught people, and you know what I mean. And so that's why it's just a personal thing for me. That's why I just.
Not me. I'm the B-dub, but I'm in for the long haul.
I'll teach you. Okay, I'll teach you. Don't worry. But you already know. Well, like, you're really good at tasking me the targets. You know what I mean? Like, you're really good at that, and so you already know how it works. You've been working with me for what, 5 years now?
Yeah,
okay.
I can't believe it's been that long. Wow. Whoa.
5 years.
Yeah.
You're practically a remote viewer too, Barry. I'm just saying.
And it's what's even more important. I really try to make sure the coordinates are protected, and you're protected also. You know what I mean? And I say that because they can be. I know there's forces trying to influence coordinate remote viewing. I know that for sure. But there's ways to filter them out and protect that, so the true data comes through. And that's the fun part. But it's worth taking that time to make sure that it's all protected. Yes. And the truth comes through.
I actually had so Ed's in the chat. Ed's one of my teammates from up in North Carolina, and he's been on the show. Y'all remember Ed? And David's in the chat too, and David Pardue. And I just did a target for Ed. I did it a while back, but we just went over the data last night for a location that they have that I'm going to be going to up in North Carolina somewhere, calling it Narnia. Okay.
Narnia.
And, Narnia, like that movie, I guess. And and so yeah, I'm not going to get into too many details on it, but but there was he came on the show last Thursday night. David was here. I think it was Thursday, and we talked about the Independence Day Bigfoot. Y'all remember that show? And David showed us a picture of a cube. Another cube popped up there. We have a cube that showed up just like the Meadow Project. That our one team that we're on out there in an undisclosed location here in the South. Well, another cube popped up, and there's actually a gigantic wolf or dog sitting beside it in the pictures that we have. It is wild. It is super wild. So I can't wait to get up there. Maybe a dog man, okay, sitting down, but I don't know. It's wild.
Or a wahila.
A wahila, that's right. Could be a wahila.
Like 2 or 3 times the size of a dire wolf. And dire wolves are huge, aren't they? So you see something 2-3 times the size of that, you'd never forget it. Interesting. Yeah. Yes. And it's cool, I think, how many things are starting to meld together. It's a conscious event, but also just the dimensions and things that are starting to kind of phase in more. That other Earth, it's all kind of phasing in a little. You can see more that Earth that is populated with beings that have consciousness, but no body, no physical apparatus for their containers of consciousness. That's becoming more and more melded with us now. Very interesting, So that isn't a conscious event too. And I think really the World Wide Web is intensifying it. And it really makes me wonder, what is the next level of AI as far as worldwide hive mind type intelligence goes? And I based that on what was said, that Reddit thing I was doing the other day, what the individual was saying about the brain of this type of gray that they were dealing with, and that their brain was actually, they don't have, quote unquote, they have an AI consciousness or AI like consciousness in their brain, opposed to them having any type of a soul. And it's the speculation that these beings don't have soul and soul energy is why they're so into getting our emotions and feelings and like that during the abduction scenario, hybrids and all the different things to get more and torture, to get more emotions from us. That even goes like taking loose and like intensifying it 3 times. You know what I mean? And that's what they're actually doing. And they're harvesting that energy to actually not just their existence, but to power their equipment.
Oh yeah.
I even had a debate with somebody that was saying that they believe that's how they're actually lighting up the craft too, is by using that energy. They're using our energy and our life force to light the craft, and that's why there are no interior lights. And I agree. I've never seen interior lights inside any of these craft, but it's just lit up. I think it's a chemical bioluminescence from a living organism, is what I believe it is. But that's my take. They had different experiences than me. So you know what I mean? So anyway.
Dang. Hold on. David and Ed want me to show that Q picture. Y'all, I've already took it down. Can one of y'all send me the picture to my Ed, send me the Q pictures to my Facebook Messenger if you can, and I'll show it to the audience. Okay, I'll show them the audience. I took them down. I just deleted it right before the show, unfortunately, because I needed room for my pictures. So if you'll send that to my Facebook Messenger, I can show it to the audience. So if you guys want to know, not to change the subject, Mary, because that's really fantastic, and using our energy to power up lights and stuff, that's wild. But this, okay. So when I was remote viewing this Narnia location, guess what the data was? I was picking up on pyramids and ancient Egyptian settlements and stuff in North Carolina. Okay, and in Anubis.
Egyptian settlements and what? You kind of cut out on
in the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina. I was picking up on ancient Egyptian artifacts and hieroglyphics, petroglyphs, and all that. Within the cave systems and everywhere, very, very heavy ancient Egyptian data for that area that they're calling Narnia. Where this cube showed up, and there is a literal dog sitting beside it in the pictures.
Hey, where is that second Sphinx that Robert Ghostwolf was taking people to, like before he died or whatever? There's a second Sphinx, and it was somewhere. There were pictures of it. I don't ever see them anymore, but it was a whole
the Grand Canyon
site. No, I don't think it was a Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon has a Sphinx out there.
I don't know. This one was Robert Ghostwolf. This is years ago. There were pictures of him like around it. I mean, they looked highly eroded, but there were like sphinxes and griffins and something else there. These different monoliths. And he would take people up there. He says, but there come a point he was too old to actually hike up there anymore. And this is around the time that I first started hearing about Mel's Hole. This all came around about the first time. Because Robert Ghostwolf and Robert Morning Sky both came to my town and gave these, it was separately, but they gave these little presentations. It's pretty cool.
Whoa.
Now, Robert Morning Sky was the first time I'd really heard about Kachinas, to be honest. That's probably about like 1995, 94. I never heard about Kachinas. He was talking about the big ones, the blue Kachina and then the red Kachina. And then the little ones he talked about later. But I was just some reason fascinated by the blue Kachina. And that was supposed to come first. Then the red Kachina, the dancing star, and all the cataclysms would come with that one. But like I've said before on your show, probably only about 1 million times by now. Man, I really look. Maybe I just a sucker. I got suckered, but I thought Hale Bop was the blue Kachina. I mean, that thing came. You didn't need a telescope or anything.
I even friends. Ed, are we even friends on Facebook? I don't think we're even friends. I don't even know if these guys are on Facebook, y'all. Sorry. Oh yeah, we are. And send me that picture. Okay. I want to show the Cupid. It's I've got it, but I can't access it live right now unless somebody sends it to me. But anyways, we actually showed it last Thursday night, y'all. So if anybody wants to see the Q picture when there's a dog sitting beside it, I didn't see the dog until I blew it up on my screen last night during our meeting that we had with the team. And Ed was like, "There's a dog sitting there," and like I had not. I mean, it's weird. Like you don't see something until somebody says it. And I get a lot of blob squatch pictures sent in front, like sent to me, Barry. Okay, and this is one that was like not a blob squatch or anything, but I was like, when I saw it, I couldn't unsee it, and it's definitely a dog, 100% a dog sitting by this big cube. Okay, out in the field in North Carolina. So, anyways, if we don't get here, huh? I'll show it to you. No, it's on. I don't see it coming in. So
I don't see it now.
No, I can't. I don't have it. I don't have it. But I just erased it off my. I had it lined up for my meeting I had with the guys yesterday. But anyways, y'all go back and watch at the end of the show. I think it was the end of the show on Thursday night, a week from tonight, week ago. We showed the pictures. Okay, so they're there. The show with David Pardue. We talked about the Independence Day Bigfoot, and the pictures are there.
Oh, okay. I saw some of that. That was a good one. Yeah,
it was a great show.
I like how you all kept mentioning. That was a good analysis by Thinker Thunker on that with the face structure, and not just the walk, but the face structure. How it couldn't even been a mask, the jawbone and stuff. That was a good one. I think that's one of the better ones that doesn't get enough credit. And my favorite one that's got the white one that they catch real quick and it it takes off. I think that was real. In fact, before I went to that Ascetti Ranch the first time, I was being obsessed about especially watching that video. Especially, I just kept watching it again and again and again. And the other one's about albino Sasquatch too, but that's what makes me wonder. These things use portals. Is that the same one that was messing with me at that ranch? In a different area completely because it used a portal or whatever. I kept feeling like that. Just like I'll tell you something else that sounds very odd, but I'll just tell you. We're at a point now, probably not anyone's really listening anyway, but not to me anyway. But, after my father passed, I swear to you, it was maybe about a week into it. I swear to you, I was feeling Sasquatch. I mean, like around my property, which is in the city. Didn't have any evidence, but I kept feeling it. Like they were mourning with me or aware of my mourning, aware of the loss. Does that make any sense? I swear to you. It's like I was feeling them. And they were just aware of it. And like sympathy. I don't know what to call it exactly. And it makes me wonder, genetically, why they're always so interested in me anyway, outside of the spiritual thing, because those cats are on me like literally white on rice, for lack of a better word. You know what I mean? So it makes me curious about these things.
Yeah, I do have the picture, by the way. Thank you, Ed. I got it. Okay, well, so the one that I could really see it really well is the close-up. So I don't have a close-up here, so you guys are going to have to, zoom in. But this actually showed up in the field. Okay, thank you, David. I saw it's coming. He said it's coming. I got it. This showed up in the field. Okay, there's cameras out. This is an undisclosed location somewhere in the Appalachians, North Carolina area. And there, this cube showed up. It's very much like the cube at the meadow. This one's white. All right, here we go. This is it. This is wild. And actually behind it, when you zoom in, if you zoom in, there's actually a dog sitting down behind the cube. You can actually see it. You got to zoom in though, y'all. So, and I can't zoom in here. I don't have the access to do it here.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking at here. It's very blurry. Where is this cube? Is it at the top or?
The cube, the white cube at the top right there. There's a white cube at the top. Right here. Can you see my cursor? Right here. That's the cube right there.
No, I can't see a cursor.
Hold on. Ed, I can't get that on my messages. You have to send me to my Facebook.
Looks like something on a table to me.
I need the zoomed in picture. I know. It's the white cube right there. Y'all can see the white cube. Okay. And when you in the zoomed in picture, there's a clear picture of a dog right behind in the black area behind it. So anyway, see, I'll have to show it when we can zoom in. We can show you where it's in it. Okay. The those are like thermal pictures, okay, and so it's hard to make out what it is on a picture like that until you zoom it in and you know what you're looking at. Sometimes it's hard to even make out stuff when you're out in the field and you have like your night vision or whatever. It's hard to even make out what you're looking at, okay, sometimes through some of those pictures. So anyways, sorry. If I can get a zoomed in picture, I can show you guys. But anyways, to be continued, you guys go back to the Thursday night show and you'll see a zoomed in picture of it. Okay. I just didn't know exactly what I was looking at last Thursday, kind of like Barry is right now. Barry's like, I don't know what I'm looking at. I know.
I was totally disappointed. I was totally disappointed. I was like, man, I like to see it zoomed in though.
Well, there's a zoomed in picture of the cube, and there's a dog behind it. Okay, there's a dog. It's like sitting down beside it. It's the weirdest thing ever. It is so weird, but it's clearly a dog. So, but anyways, that's to be continued. You'll be hearing more about Narnia, y'all. I'm going to go up there. We're going to go do some investigations of that place. And yeah, that's where we actually, not too far. I don't know where this is in relation to where we were when I went up there last time, but that's where we had that self-illuminated eye glow with those 3 or 4 different Bigfoots that were following us around up there. And so it's always fun, man. I love going up to North Carolina, and it's fun hanging out with those fellas. So yeah, well, I'm thinking we have done a great job covering all these three Jezebel, blonde-haired aliens or whatever. I don't know. This is wild. I really do think that they're all 3 connected. And I think that it does seem as though we may be, I think they were probably maybe they're trying to save civilizations and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Hey, just for the wrap up, what do you officially feel the connection is between all 3? Just so we say that, clearly.
Well, first of all, it seems strange, especially to us, just regular humans, that women would go around assaulting men to impregnate themselves like that. I mean, it happens. You know what I mean? It happens. But I'm just saying, like, going into a new planet to be impregnated by a human man and then leaving and pointing to the belly and pointing to the sky like, I'm going to take the baby up here. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya, That's kind of weird. It just doesn't, but that's because we're human and they're not human. 100%, I guess. I don't know. Didn't they always say like humans, like ETs are really interested in humans because we have empathy and we love, you know what I mean? And they don't seem to have the empathy and the love at all. Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. Yeah. So I think it's just kind of weird. But the way we look at it is like they not like us. You know what I mean? They not like us, and so it's a whole different ball game. I don't know. I think they're trying to either experiment and build other civilizations elsewhere of human alien hybrids and stuff. I mean, that's what I think. But is it the last target? Seems to be because something really bad's about to happen, and maybe it either happened to them. Oh, it says it's incoming to earthbound. Okay, it's almost like they're trying to prepare for something, and it was also 5th dimension. I felt like they were time traveling. Okay, so maybe it's somebody from the future coming to do this before something bad happens to the Earth. That's what I think. That is what the data says. That's what I think. The way I interpreted the data, they are coming back to get samples. Bodily fluid samples, specimens to go grow another civilization to try to save mankind or something. I don't know, save their race. I don't know. That's what I think.
And, it makes you wonder, like when it comes to that part, something like could be asked is like Credo would ask, like, okay, now we have the whole hybrid thing going on in the reproduction. What does the torture that goes on after that part have to do with anything? Have to do with that? That's what it is. A lot of people go through a torture. What's with all these things they're putting in people and all that after they've got the sperm and other things they need? Well, what's with the other torture? I mean, it's really, really valid. That's where it comes into that, emotional thing again. And when we deal with even dealing with negative identities that come from the negative self, to dissolve negative identities, their feelings and our emotions are really technically invisible. We feel them, we see the effect they have, sadness, anger, but technically the emotions themselves are invisible. Just like the voices that speak to people that aren't their own voice, but make it sound like they are. They speak in our own voice, but they tell you some BS, this negative stuff that you can't trust, and it's putting you down like in your default mode network of the brain again and again and again. This stuff is, I think, pretty important. And you're dealing with feelings, and negative identities are feelings. They're getting feelings from people. And we're starting to code it with the term loosh and DOR and all these things. But really, it's emotional energy. Really, straight emotional energy. And are they converting that into not just life essence, but to power their equipment? Yes. Some of these civilizations, when you start dealing with those what are the different containers for the voices that we don't see? Some, maybe they go through evolutions that they have containers for consciousness too. That's more than just a shadow or a reptile. What else can it be?
Yes. Well, and also I think there's another element that we have not really addressed as well. And that is, are some people here knowing, and this is what I've been told. I'm not saying that this is true or whatever, but I'm just saying this is what I've had some conversations with some good friends of mine about, who say, well, what if those of us that have been getting abducted and have been in part of these programs and have been assaulted, let's just say, by these ETs, and there's a good reason people think they're demons, y'all. You know what I mean, Barry? But it's because we agreed to come here to do this. Okay, and that's it's almost like under contract to come here. Like your soul knows that you came here to do that, to give samples and to do whatever. I know it sounds weird, right? Some people believe that, and it could be that some of us came here under contract to be in these programs. I don't know. I'm just saying, some maybe not, but that's what some people think.
I gotta tell you, it's not popular, but I gotta tell you, and this I can only tell you what I found out through the work. Okay, very little that happens to us is not agreed upon by our superconscious, our divine overself, our thought adjuster, whatever, that's in control of our immortal. So the real us, just like I had to come to, somebody thought, oh, well, I had maybe agreed to have an accident and take 4 brain injuries so I would be where I'm at right now. You know how bad that pissed me off to even consider that or hear that? But it doesn't take away from the validity. You know what I'm saying? And the part of trauma that comes through, like some of these things, like I'll give you an example real quick. I mentioned before that I've met a real walk-in. I've met a couple now, but this is when I was younger. I met a real walk-in. Her name was Tamar. Okay, and Tamar, would you be touched? She's an older woman, Jessica. She's like in her 80s, bunch of crow's feet and all that stuff, But when you're talking to her, sometimes she would like talking to you, and then she start talking like a little girl, like this little girl, and start talking to a little girl. And supposedly the little girl was the walk-in that came to help Tamar during a surgery or something because she's about to die and wanted to help her survive or something. And it's an agreement between the two. Okay, given it be, I was about probably 18, 19, 20, those years. I was getting my degree in psych. And I immediately looked at this woman and I said, okay, this is Sally Field. This is some Sybil stuff. You know what I mean? That's why, try to write it off as that. And then I'm looking at all these pictures this woman has in her house of different extraterrestrials, drawn sketches that are really good. I mean, dozens of them, okay? And I'm looking at those, and she comes in. We're talking to this other woman, says, so it's the little girl, though. And she says, you're hurting people. And you're doing something you said you would never do. I was like, what? She says, you're running. Said, you call your friends, and then when they show up, you run. You said you would never do that. You agreed before you incarnated this time, you'd never do that. And then when you run, they don't understand it, and it hurts them badly. And I'm gonna tell you, I freaked out on this walk-in, quote unquote, Sybil. Whatever. I mean, I'm still in that Sally Field. I'm in that mindset still. But because look, Jessica, straight up, I never told anybody about that part of my experiences. And it was true. Hey, look, I don't care what anybody thinks. It's one thing to sit up and be all into that stuff and the CE5, all that. Let those ships come up on you for real. And you're tripped out. And then all of a sudden something happens and you're missing 5 hours of your life. Just like that. And you know you've been there. You've been something. You've got these things. You're trying to hold on to it. Trying, say it's all real, weird, and tripped out. It's disconcerting. And for me, although they weren't negative experiences, I couldn't think about nothing else. I was in college, I couldn't think about nothing. I'm going to look at the professor. Instead of taking notes, I'm up there thinking, he could have part Neanderthal genetics, maybe sometime, all that stuff going through your mind, stuff like that. So I did, I ran. I saw this thing came in. I was like, man, it happened a couple of times. The ship's real close. I was like, that's close enough. No more missing time. I took off. I ran. That only happened a couple of times, but I did do it. And I certainly didn't tell this old woman, okay? And it really tripped me out. There's certain things that will happen that cross the boundary, you know what I mean? To where it's like, she's looking at me going, you can still go back up. Come back over after the conference and we'll take you back up and stuff. I'm like, well, I probably really don't need you. But I'm like, am I really just go out in the field, just sit there and say, hey, take me? It takes a whole lot of testicular fortitude. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to do it. That's why I have no interest in CE5 for that reason. Let those ships come too close, even if it's the good guys. It can be discerning, to say the least.
Yeah. There is that family. I was thinking about this. We were talking about this earlier. About the CE5 and calling the ships in and stuff. And I often bring up that family up in North Georgia that, I don't know. I actually didn't say anything about this for a long time. Okay. Because they want to remain anonymous 100%. But the mother thought it'd be fun to call in those UFOs, and she did it. And then they started abducting her children at night, and it ruined their lives. And they had pictures of ETs looking in their windows at night. They put cameras in their house looking at the windows, and alien, like different sized and shaped alien, like ETs were looking in their windows at night and stuff. And their kids would not wake up for school in the mornings, and their grades took a tank. They just tanked, took a nosedive, and had dark circles under their eyes, and they weren't sleeping, and it was just wild. But they were going to sleep, but they weren't getting any sleep, and it was
I know that feeling. I went through a lot of that because the chance I wake up, I'm not at home anymore. I'm on one of these things. Like I said, nothing bad was happening, but it was just a lot to accept. I would write it off as, hey, I've got a super vivid imagination, just better than everybody else's. And then things start happening where it was no doubt it was real. And I started to have physical experiences from it, symptoms from it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But it made it to where my ass couldn't sleep very good at night, and I still don't.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. It's just a cautionary tale. It's a warning. Just be careful what you're doing. I don't recommend anybody calling UFOs and stuff because you just don't know what you're messing with. Okay. I don't do it. I don't want to do it. And as a matter of fact, yes, they do chase me no matter where I go. I know they do, but I don't call them in. I never would. I've woken up with ETs in my bedroom before, Barry. Okay, yeah. So yeah. It's disconcerting. No matter if it's good or positive or bad, it's just disconcerting. Yeah. Well, it didn't start happening until after I started Bigfoot field researching out in the field, and that's when it started. It was right after that. Mm-hmm. And we had missing time. We had ET, UFOs hovering over us. We had all sorts of stuff. Orbs, Bigfoot, all that. So you get on the radar. You're on the radar. You're on the radar.
Well, it's something else too. Like I've said before, for me, I thought I was always chasing the experiences and chasing the knowledge. But in reality, 100, it was chasing me. And that's the way that goes most of the time. the experiences, the knowledge, it's on you from the beginning. And it's a matter of understanding it and being able to perceive it. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's true. David Gosman Racing, that's true for anything you do too, though. He says, you can have no fear when doing CE5, or else you become an antenna for unaligned vibes. That is actually quite true in anything that you do in this world. I mean, a little bit of fear will save your life. Okay, so I say have no fear, okay, but it is a vibration. It is a frequency that you get on, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I
you
mentioned
put out.
Costa Marquez. Yeah. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No,
No,
that's
saying,
why I mentioned Costa. What he's doing, he does that before the CE5, and they're trying to make a world event of it. So, you know, exactly what that there, though, which changes the scope of it. Huh?
What could possibly go wrong? A world CE5 event?
Well, if it's on the right frequency, it might do us some real good. You know,
Maybe.
because I'm a firm believer. If you get one of those big asteroids that comes in here, that's what we're going to have to do to deflect it. Everybody get on one frequency and use the collective consciousness morphogenic field to actually create like a deflective beam, push it away, change its trajectory. And if you think of it as a planet, if we came together and really focused on one thing, we could push that thing out of the solar system.
Oh yeah, with our minds. Yes, our intentions.
Intent of will.
That's
focusing
right.
on the intent of will. Yeah.
Well, okay, so that, you know, I was talking with Nick Sylvester a couple weeks ago. We were talking about how I've been told through my remote viewing friends that you know, a while back an event had been remote viewed repeatedly. It was a catastrophic event that they said it's going to happen within our lifetime, our kids' lifetime. And Nick was like, no, he's like, you've been, you know, and it gets in the back of your mind when you hear stuff like that. It's like, man, it's almost like you kind of come to expect it, but that's part of the manifestation from, like, you know, we can also manifest that not happening too. Okay. Not happening, like this negative timeline, this catastrophic events that's going to affect us, our children, our children's children, all that kind of stuff. We can, if we have the intent of going into a higher timeline, we can do it. Okay, we can do that. You just gotta stay positive.
But here's the thing, though. You get abductees that are doing that are getting these visions, and none of that stuff ever happens. But what it does do is get your emotions going, okay, and try to deflect us to a negative timeline. And it creates conformist statements like you just had up there that are limiting, that are people that have not really experienced all aliens to know they're demonic or not. That's conditioning is what that is. And it stops us from seeing the world for what it really is. You got good and bad of all types. So to say they're all demonic is putting everything in one category. It's limiting and it's conformist, period. That's the way it is. And I speak as somebody, I've experienced a bunch. The demons I was around was not demonic. Proved to me they were. Proved to me how they infected me demonically. That's just talk, man. You know what I mean?
The aliens you're around. Like you said the demons you were around, you meant the aliens you were.
No, I've encountered negative forces, a whole nother thing going on there. Believe me, they're not. They were telling me nothing good. You know what I mean? What they're trying to do is trying to destroy you. And what I do is I stay away from those forces and find out how to protect myself. You know what I mean? And we're not all so fortunate because they infiltrate in easy. And you've got, you know, I've done a video. It's called When Demons Pretend to Be Aliens. When tricksters pretend to be aliens. That's a great way to have people looking out here and not realize you got the demonic right here on this planet. And worse than that, they're incarnating just like you and I, look like you and I.
Oh, yeah.
And the best we get, they're soulless people. We don't know if they're soulless or not. They're dark. Period.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're necessarily soulless. Just mean they're dark. Negative
beings. Out here.
Negative beings, yeah. And just because something incarnates from possibly dark matter or dark energy doesn't mean it's demonic. That's something else we have to realize too.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there's plenty of dark out there, but there's also the light. It's all a balance. Okay.
Real quick, drawing a line real quick between the
Okay.
last target you did and the information you got about timeline destruction and things like that. I wonder at what point does that tie into the Hat Man? You remember the information you got about the Hat Man? A lot
He
of
was
time
correcting. Yeah, he was a timeline corrector, and I think there's many of them, obviously, but he was. That is interesting that you made that connection. Yeah, shifting timelines. He came back to do a course correction. I mean,
that's crazy. So in this case, would you say the females were negative, the sexual predatory females negative faction, and the Hat Man is possibly a good faction? Positive faction.
Okay, well here we get into this existential crisis here, right? Because no, and hear me out, because bad and good or negative, it's all relative kind of to like your perception of things, right? And so I don't know, we're gonna get in this conversation today, but it's like, I don't know. If you want to call it bad or good or dark, I don't know. I think that the Hat Man is there to course correct. It just depends on your level of understanding and your perception is whether it's good or bad. I think maybe they're, I hate to say this, maybe it's both good for humanity in some way. I mean, I don't know. It just depends. But it's dark. We perceive it as being dark. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Barry?
I don't know. I know that the Hat Man I saw generated a fear feeling. And looking at somebody who's done probably, honestly, the most work on shadow figures and Hat Man and Cloak Man, all that stuff, is Hadi Hollis. And she's got a very strong religious Christian thing kind of with her work, which is fine, to each their own, But she will tell you beyond a doubt of shadow of a doubt in all of her books that she believes they're all demonic. Hat Man, the cloak beings, the shadow beings, that they're demonic representations. And she's done a lot of work on it. So, I don't know. It's so strange, because we know that some of the most evil of the inorganic beings appear to be light beings. They're beings of light. So whether we want to call them fallen, the fallen, the shining ones, I hear all this different stuff. But the bottom line is that they're beings of light, and they're negative though. Okay. And that's something just to be aware of. So when we encounter some of these beings, I hear different things, the different types of beings, the white beings, the white light, all these different things, and when I've crossed people, whether earthbound spirits or even regressions, people see all sorts of different colors of light. It's not all white. It's not always yellow. It can be green. I think a lot of it has to do with the soul group you're attuned to. Roy G. Biv, like the color spectrum, based on actually immortal soul or not, based on experiences, is the spectrum you're in, the nano spectrum.
Well, most people that encounter Hat Man have a very negative encounter with him. So there's that. So it's all up to, it's all about how people experience it. You know what I mean? I don't think that we could put a one label on all the Hat Man thing experiences. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's got to be kind of scary. I've seen shadow people. I've seen weird stuff. I've seen all that. I lived in a haunted house. I lived in a very haunted house. And I had a black cloud, like a thick black mass, like fly out of my bedroom through the kitchen, and it knocked me down into my cabinets, and then it went into the closet through the wall in my living room. So like, I've seen some weird stuff, Barry.
Yeah, most of the time you've seen shadow, they generate negative vibrations, negative feelings. No, yeah. See, there's a lot to be said. That's how you know, and it's where you get by some other beings, or fairies or angelics, whatever you want to call them. They produce something that the gurus call Shakti Pat, which is where it feels like a Kundalini release, gets your chakras spinning, which are actually energy vortexes. get them spending a little bit, you know, and it's like a type of a temporary euphoria. Guess we'd call it almost a false euphoria. But that says a lot about beings. Of course, gotta be careful of being that could do that to you and actually be negative. But at least you get a feeling for. I'd rather go for the ones that produce the Shakti Path than the ones that make me feel like I need to go use the restroom. You know what I mean? The ones that are staring back at you. You know, yeah.
Barry poops rainbows too, y'all. It's not just me. Okay. Just kidding. It's not over there. Okay. Oh my gosh. What an interesting question though. The connection between like possible Hat Man and then these ETs that are coming, and they're like succubi, right? Succubuses or something. Coming.
Like, is he helping them? You know what I mean?
Man.
Is he a faction of them trying to shift us to something messed up?
I thought, but it's timeline correction. Remember, course correction. Hopefully in a good way, right? So, man,
you didn't get real specific on the correction, my friend. If it was positive or negative.
I'd like to think it's positive, but
is the glass half full or is it half empty? I don't know.
I don't know. Today mine was half empty, but usually it's half full. It just depends on what day it is. Yeah. I don't know. It's really cool that we can kind of connect the dots so with these targets that we do. And, I'm always shocked at all the connections that we make. It's my favorite thing, actually. It's definitely my favorite thing.
The fun part.
Yeah, it's the fun part.
Even here, you have possible Tau Ceti connections. Very fascinating. Military connections, missing 411. What do you want to call that? Filtering, processing units, or whatever they are. All this stuff is. A few of these things come out in this one. It's interesting.
Yes.
It went way beyond my wish to just do a multi-racial addressment. It went beyond that, which is a fun part.
This was a great 6 targets. That was 6 targets, y'all. That might be the most amount of targets I've done on one show ever. 6 sessions of 3 targets, basically. Kind of 4 targets actually, but 6 sessions. And I think we got some great data, Barry. Thank you so much for tasking me those amazing targets. I was, after you told me what they were, I was like, well, this might be uncomfortable to talk about today, but it's okay. We talk about the alien abductions. We talk about this kind of stuff, and it needs to be brought to the public. The U.S. government has admitted that aliens are real. They've admitted to 4 separate types of races of them that have been found in crash retrievals and things like that. And so we need to talk about it. It's just where the conversation's headed. So,
and it's a fact. You have a lot amount of contact experiences and abduction scenarios, experiences that involve a sexual connotation to them. Why? You know what I mean? Yeah, that or getting the false vision things, a bunch of negative visions. Things like that needs to be explored.
Yes. Thank you, Vark Helem. I can't say your name, but thank you. I like your name. Okay. Hope you rested after your remote viewing excursion. Stay hydrated. Eat the broccoli. Yes, I will. That's actually a great way. Thank you for that. It did kind of tucker me out a little bit after doing all those targets, but I did them over a span of like a week or so. So it's not like I did them all in one day or anything. But I did the last one last night. Okay, so but anyways, that is a great way if you're like getting a psychic overload, or like you're doing something like tuning into things psychically and it's like kind of overwhelming. The best way to kind of come out of that, to like kind of reset your brain and stuff and your psychic, just to kind of come out of that state, is to eat something. Okay, have some food on hand. Okay, if you're ever doing any kind of psychic practice and stuff, eat something. Okay, and so thank you. Stay nourished, stay hydrated. That is so important. And so, oh my gosh, thank you, Colleen. That is so sweet of you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the super sticker, Colleen. I appreciate that. Yeah, but
Wow.
It is quite taxing on the body to do remote viewing and to do these targets and stuff. So, but yeah, that's part of the training too that I've had. You learn how to protect your energy. You protect yourself. You know how to rest. You know exactly what your limits are, what you can do and what you can't, and all that kind of stuff. You got to be able to gauge all that. So, but yeah, it's fun, man. I love doing these things. I love it. Even though I do get kind of sometimes, listen, it's not these targets that get me down at all. I was just, sometimes we all have those days. We just get tired. We wonder if we're going to keep doing this forever or whatever.
Oh,
But I mean, as long as I'm having fun, y'all, I'm going to continue to do this. Okay. I'll continue to do these targets for y'all. Because I'm doing them for me too.
They never try to kill your fun from the beginning for a very long time. So just never lose that perspective, Yeah. And it's like even in this, the warm fuzzies and few and far between. For years and years, I dealt with juvenile offenders, and they were even worse than like the children in need of care. The juvenile offenders, man, I mean, the love and fuzzies are very few and far between on those, believe me. The FUs are daily, but but the warm fuzzy, I'm getting about that now. Kids come up to me and say, I'm in my late 30s, and you helped me a lot and stuff. I was like, wow, it's been a long time ago. They never forget you, and that's what I learned at a young age. Never underestimate what one thing it is you say to a young person or to any person that could completely change their life.
That's
it's
true.
very easy and it's very quick and it's very easy to do. Don't cost nothing.
True. And you know what? What really keeps me going is the audience too. Is the amazing guests and my co-hosts that we have over here. But we have the best. When I say I have the best audience over here, you have a great audience too over on your channel, Barry. I swear I stand by this. I have the best live chat audience and the best moderators on the internet by far.
They come over to mine too. They're great people.
They do.
They're very supportive. Absolutely. And they're very positive and very intelligent. You got sharp people over here,
Yes. Such a wide variety of experiences with everybody too. And thank you I want to thank my moderators for being so welcoming to everybody too. Y'all are the best, for real. I get compliments on that a lot. So thank y'all for that. And yeah, everybody's safe to be themselves in here. Okay. Now, occasionally there's some trolls that do leak in a little bit, and that's okay. Okay. But hey, listen, it's not that bad, y'all. It's not that bad. We get through it. Okay. But anyway.
There's always get some trolls. They come in under the bridge. They come in with the crowd and they wait a little bit and do little things. And you know what they always do? They start off their assault with a compliment.
It always happens like that.
A nice compliment, they start tearing you down.
Yeah, they do.
And at the very end, man. I don't mean no offense though. The very
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You know what? Here's my secret weapon. I have people hiding in the shadows. And they may not be speaking in the chat, but I got moderators that are waiting. Okay. So I do listen, I have backup. I have backup all the time. And I got people watching those chats, don't worry. That's part of the reason they're so amazing, because I got trusted backup in here. My werewolf security team. Just kidding. But anyways. Man, well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this, Barry. Thank you so much for those targets, and thank you for being here tonight. And
thank you for doing them. This was actually we've been here for a minute, haven't we? I didn't realize it.
I know the show is going long tonight, y'all. I didn't know. I didn't mean to go this long. Okay, but we did have fun. We had fun, and it was great information. Actually, I think
it is cool, and it encourages people to look into each one of these cases. If they've not already heard of them, it's fun. And the other one I mentioned, Michael Huggins. Oh, sorry, David Huggins. I think it's David Huggins. Huggins. Him, and he probably had more sexual encounters than all three of these people put together. And he's got illustrations for it too. Oh yeah. Those women were coming to jumping him in the park. He's going for a walk. They was coming to sexing him up in the park, man. Oh, I'm
Well,
sorry.
maybe he signed up for that before he came here. I'm just saying, I don't know.
Oh, probably so. I
Some
don't
people
know.
do.
He's kind of enjoying it to me, man. His
It
pictures.
probably sounded
They
like
look
a
like
good
he's being
idea when you
worked.
signed up for it. Okay, I'm just saying. But, I don't know. I'm just kidding, y'all. I'm not trying to make light of it. Okay, that's messed up. Messed up. Dang it, Barry.
It might produce those kids like, oh, you would remember this, but it was an old 80s, late 70s movie called It's Alive. There was It's Alive 1, 2, and 3. The island of the alive. What it was like these kids that were like mutated out by the natural chemicals or something. It's like they like killed the milkman, the baby killed the milkman. Anyway, unalive the milkman. Anyway, those are some cheesy 70s movies. It's Alive. Somebody in your crowd remembers it, I guarantee. Somebody in the audience goes, oh, I remember those.
Oh gosh, just say no to probes, y'all. Say no to probes if you can. If you can, okay. But well, Barry, okay? So you actually do hypnotic regression therapy on clients and stuff, and if they've had an encounter with a ET, if they have even secret space program memories or whatever, if they want to look into it, they can contact you. You provide that service, correct? Would you like to tell the audience about that tonight?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, BarryLittleton13@gmail.com. Hit me up. I do regression. I do hypnosis. I do regressions, ET, past life. I do negative identity, dissolvement, generational curse cutting, and most importantly, probably earthbound spirit release. Also do readings as well, but I'm kind of a little more into hypnosis right now because it really is more gratifying for clients. They empower themselves, and that's where it's at. You know what I mean? Through action. So hit me up if you're interested in this session. I'd love to work with you, and I'm getting some of the coolest people coming forward, and I'm blown away by every session. It's really kind of exciting, to be honest. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. What about your YouTube channel?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. I got a YouTube channel, which I'm in need of extra subscribers, maybe viewers. I think I've been shadow banned ×3. I'm pretty sure I'm like in the new shadow ban. I've been rebanned or something because my account is going down. It's like, my Lord, either my presentation really sucks, it might, or my material sucks, it might. But damn, that bad? Anyway. So come on over to Barry Littleton on YouTube, Barry Littleton on Facebook, Barry Littleton on Patreon, and I'm starting to try to figure out how to do lives on Patreon. So that's what I'm going to start doing there, is these little lives there. I found out that people like lives. It's more, I'm enjoying it more than I ever thought I would, and it's interactive, and it's pretty cool for somebody that never wanted to do lives,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, David Pardue says he needs to talk to Barry. That's my buddy up in North Carolina. He's had some interesting encounters, so maybe we'll hook y'all up. Okay.
Oh, cool! Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that.
He's got videos of aliens and stuff. Okay, so
is that who showed the cube? Is that who had the cube video?
Yeah, David and Ed. Yes.
Okay, he was the Independence episode. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Independence Day. Yeah, he's a long time Bigfoot field researcher from up in North Carolina. Big time, long time Bigfoot field researcher. One of the best in the business. Yeah.
I'll tell you, Sasquatch, man, it's like for my dad had passed, he had told me, he said, you never even saw one. I said, no, I didn't. But you know what? They affected my life. There's no doubt about that. They affected my life. And it wasn't negative. And I'm in awe of their physical prowess, and I'm in awe of their spiritual abilities, taken away from the thought. They're Nephilium. But more like this, they're beings, and let's check it out. What are they? I think it's fascinating,
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'm going to be taking a trip up to North Carolina soon. Okay, going back and getting some more boots on the ground. Actually, I got several trips planned coming up here. I'm just trying to wait for the heat to cool off. Okay, it is too darn hot to be out in the woods, y'all. And so y'all know my crazy butt will be out in the woods in 125-degree weather. Okay, but right now I'm really trying. I'm getting old. I'm not doing so fast to go out in the heat these days. So, but I do have some trips planned. Okay, and as a matter of fact, Aussie Ange, thank you. So, what's up, Ange? She just became a member of the Hunt Club. Thank you so much, Ange. You're so sweet. And yes, she is down there in Australia. Okay, but
life saved.
thank
Australia,
you.
great medical system there.
Yeah.
I can't say that enough, man.
Oh yeah, you spent some time down there. But okay, well, everybody, please go and subscribe. Join Barry's Patreon. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. You guys, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. Follow me on, and Barry's also on Spreaker. We have audio podcasts. I upload all my shows to audio podcast platforms, and I'm all over the internet. Let's go to thecryptidhuntress.com. And I want to thank Colleen. Thank you so much for that super sticker tonight. And Ange, thank you for becoming a member of the Hunt Club. You guys support means the world to me. And you guys, oh my God, we have a brand new guest coming on Saturday night. We have Justin Owens. I think it's Justin Owens. It's his name, out of the LBL, coming up on the show Saturday night. And he might even have Dogman jumping on his house at night and stuff. It's going to be, he's brand new to the Cryptid Huntress channel. We've been friends on Facebook for a while. I met him up in the LBL at the Cryptid Town Hall about a month or so ago. And he's coming on the channel Saturday night. Y'all come see me. It's going to be a great live show. And so be there or be square, y'all. Okay. And so if you guys want access to all of the remote viewing data, please go over to Patreon. Okay. I said Justin Owens, Justin Boyd, y'all. I knew I was saying that wrong. Justin Boyd. I think that's his middle name, might be Owen. But Justin Boyd's coming on. If I didn't say that to begin with, okay. Justin Boyd. So I can't wait to have him on the show Saturday night. We're gonna have a wonderful time. It's gonna be another fantastic one. And I will see y'all there. Okay, Barry, do you have any final thoughts tonight?
No, thanks for having me here. Thank everybody in the audience. Nobody threw no apples or carrots at me or onions, so it's all good. And I appreciate you doing. There's a lot of work, so thanks for doing all those targets. It was fun.
I enjoy doing it, Barry. All right. Well, y'all have a great night. Please stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel. Okay.
Right, there it is. There it is.
Don't live in fear. I got to bring that back. I quit saying that for a while. I'm gonna start saying it. I'll say it. You do the hand motion and stuff, and I'll just say it. Keep it on. Don't live in fear. Say no to probe, and I'll see y'all Saturday. Y'all have a great night. Bye, Barry.